And here we go. Now we're live, officially. I think I started it right. Welcome to FogBreakerStudios, y'all. I'm leading the channel this time. It's not Ronnie. So welcome to my channel. This is me, Jason Alexander, FogBreakerStudios. I'm joined by my partner in crime as usual, Ronnie Gunter, Crimson Owl Comics, and our Don Rickles himself, Gary Hodges, Mr. Dinosaurs vs. Mars Bots. How y'all doing today?
Pretty good.
How are you?
Awesome, man. I'm doing really good. Thanks for coming on. Like, this is like my first thing on YouTube, so I appreciate y'all joining me. So,
not a problem.
I guess before we support. Thank you. Speaking of that, I'm glad you said that, Ronnie. Thank you. Speaking of, let's go to Ronnie's Coffee account, where he's got artwork for every month. Every holiday gets a twisted version of itself for $5 on these posters, guys. Check them out. Can I click on these and see a bigger preview? Yes, I can, guys. You get these right off. He's done all of these. Sunday is Mother's Day. I got the inside scoop on what it is. Ronnie, you want to talk about it a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Like Mother's Day is going to be like a zombie mother and her zombie kids giving her flowers. But instead of the kid holding the flowers, the child is holding a hand that's holding the flowers. So why not?
Oh, my God. I can't wait to see it. I love all these so far. Like, they've been really, really fun. So I'm going to post Ronnie's link as quick as I can find it. Man, this is my first day at work. I'm trying, guys. There it goes. Check out Crimson Owl Comics Linktree. I put his link. I put the link to your coffee account in the description, but I didn't put your link.
Gotcha.
So you can get the link right there though. So check him out. Again, here is Mr. Dinosaurs vs. Mars Bots himself, Gary Hodges. One of my favorite books that I've read this year, and I've read a lot of books, guys.
Yeah,
it's stinking awesome. You know what, Ronnie? I don't think that I actually officially shared your screen. Man.
I at least didn't see it on my feed. I didn't know if maybe the public saw it.
I'll share it again here in a second.
Do it.
But this is Ronnie's here. Where you go? Here it is. All right. This is Ronnie's. These are all of his twisted horror holidays. What do you call them, Ronnie?
The 12 holidays of horror.
12 holidays of horror. That's what it is.
Nice.
So far, they've all been really, really good. Again, coffee.com, Crimson Owl Comics. You can get all that stuff. He's also about to start doing some digital comics. You want to talk about those at all?
Oh, yeah. Pretty soon, my ongoing horror comic, A Vengeful Heart, is going to be on Tapas, because unlike webtoons, they don't support a lot of gore or mature content, unlike Tapas does. So that's where I'm going to be going.
Y'all know what it is. Stay tuned. I'll have them links as soon as they come.
Yeah, it's going to be dark, but it's going to be fun.
All right. So this is on to Gary Hodges, Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots. 2 volumes exist, and they're both equally awesome. I know one of them's running low, right, Gary?
Both of them are really close to selling out right now.
Guys,
that's nice.
97 is closer than 75, but 75 is a limited edition. So once that's gone, it's gone for good. So.
You won't read these books and not enjoy them. I can't. It's been one of my favorite reads of the year. Like I said, I read a lot of horror this year. I read a lot of sci-fi this year. This holds up against any of it and is better than a lot of it, guys. And I said it, Gary, and there's nothing you can do about it. So this is my favorite picture in the whole book, by the way. This is just an awesome picture. So check out his links. I'll post those as well underneath the stream here in a second. But guys, get these books ASAP. Thank you. Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots. Also find them on Instagram. Man, lovely books, Gary. Lovely books. Black and white is always my favorite, but I enjoyed your take on it more than I did a lot of stuff. So keep it up. I can't wait to read 79.
Oh yeah, I'm working on the script right now. It's coming along.
Awesome.
I'm actually starting to feel I'm at that point where I've done enough work on it where I'm actually cautiously starting to feel kind of good about it. So like I've gotten out of that initial part where it's like, ugh, I don't know how to write. I don't know what I'm doing. Like it's just that frustration. But now it's starting. It's like, okay, I got something here. I got something.
There you go. Of course you do. Of course you do.
It's gonna get there. They all get there eventually. So
yep. And last but not least, minicomicbundles.com. I'm gonna post it real quick. I'm ready to start talking, but y'all gotta see these comic books because this is what we got. We're 6 months into a 12-month campaign. 250 prints per issue are all that will ever exist. So once they're gone, they're gone. They are very collectible. Aaron Guzman did all the artwork, all the stories I came up with, and we just kind of had a meeting of the minds, and we are loving what came out. So we just finished our big story arc in Hourglass. That's in bundle 6. We put a horror story in called The Message. Aaron's Black and White also is completely nuts and completely different. Home Run is an awesome story because it's where I start to get into those cult stories that I'm going to be telling more of. So check it out. Home Run in this bundle, and Hourglass wraps up our first 6-month issue. This has been my favorite cover of all. I'm not sharing my screen again. Guys, man, I'm going to write myself up.
It's all right, man.
I'm totally getting ready to write myself up.
It's a lot of getting used
to write yourself up. Is that what you say? Yeah.
That's it. Okay. So anyway, you know what?
You're not getting your incentive bonus this
no,
quarter.
That's it. Yeah, I went over.
I had to hop on for like almost 30 minutes early just so I could show them how to do everything.
Yeah, but you know what? It's all good. I don't have many views on this probably yet, so that's fine too. We're working the bugs out, and this is like everybody's gotta have a first step.
Exactly.
I'll show mine later. But like, I want to talk storytelling. It's what we all talk about behind the scenes anyway.
Of course.
But, something that I've enjoyed a lot of the storytelling about has been the MCU. It was my first real introduction to Marvel Comics, from the time that I was really able to had access to comic shops where I could get a lot of the stories that everybody talked about. But I ended up getting on and just that's a lot of those stories when I hear people talk about what the stories were inspired by. That's kind of what drew my interest to a lot of Marvel because I read mostly DC, and it just kind of all started with Iron Man, and that's kind of been something that separately because I didn't know either of you guys in the when it all started, of course, but that's something that we all enjoyed individually. So what are you guys' thoughts on the MCU, just to kind of break the ice?
Ronnie, you open it up, man.
I would say it is rewarding and epic to actually see this comic universe actually grow and become as big as it was, because for me, I remember seeing the 90s Captain America, how bad that was. There was even a Fantastic Four in the 90s that you couldn't see in the theaters, but I was able to go to a comic book store and buy the copy that, pretty much if someone saw you selling it, you would actually get in trouble. So it was a pretty bad thing. It was the Fantastic,
the Roger Corman, right?
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm. And seeing the old school, even in the 90s before we had Punisher. Man, who was Punisher back then?
Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
And
yes.
And Nick, and instead of Samuel Jackson being Nick Fury, it was David Hasselhoff. I'm
trash.
Man, it was pure trash. And just seeing that to seeing how good this universe is, it just shows that, if you have the right writers, you have the, you're putting your money and your time and what's really important. Like, okay, we could cut this out, but we need to make sure that you see like Iron Man's suits, basically like his first one to what it looks like now. Just beautiful work. That's all I could say is well done.
Frank, they were the invalid four. For me, it was always like the Incredible Hulk when I was a kid, like way back in
Oh yeah.
And like I enjoyed those enough, but I just remember like once the Incredible Hulk movie started and Iron Man came out, it was like, oh, now it looks like it did in my imagination.
Yeah.
But it was something different about when Iron Man started. And I don't want to take forever and break down every movie because I feel like everybody's done that. I just kind of wanted to talk more about the storytelling aspect, but knowing like how we just all kind of knew that once Iron Man hit, we could see anything. It was like, okay, anything can be good with those characters. And it was like once the end credit stuff started and you started to piece together like, oh, the Avengers, like you could see the Avengers coming years before it ever happened. And like, to me, like that was always like, like this is like storytelling. Like you can't imagine that somebody sat down with that Iron Man script and said, here it is till Endgame. There's no way.
Right.
Yeah.
But they all fit together so well. It was like building a puzzle it was like building a puzzle on demand.
Yeah, the accomplishment is crazy. I wasn't optimistic. I mean, Iron Man, just like everybody, Iron Man blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. And the Iron Man, and a lot of people have made this observation. I did not give, are we swearing? I might accidentally swear.
Go for it. No, go for it.
I did not give a shit about Iron Man when I was a comic reader. Like he was
I wasn't either.
Totally not into him. Like I knew who he was.
Right.
I couldn't even tell you if I ever read one of the comics. Like I just didn't care at all. I was a Spider-Man guy. I was a Hulk guy. I liked the X-Men a little bit, that kind of stuff, like Batman, but I didn't care about. Yeah. So, so when I saw that and not only saw it, but thought it was awesome, I was like, oh, well, that's really interesting. That was like the first really good comic book movie. I think maybe not the first, like Spider-Man 2 was pretty great, but like,
Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, this is kind of a new generation of like, oh, this could be really cool. But I thought it might be a fluke. I thought but are they going to be able to repeat because like Frank is saying, like they had Robert Downey Jr. He kind of made that. They had
it was originally going to be Tom Cruise.
Right. Who's the director's name? I'm blanking on his name right now of Iron Man.
Was it Favreau?
Favreau. I thought they had Favreau, they had Robert Downey Jr. Like this might have been just like the stars aligning.
Right.
And then Thor came and I was kind of like, yeah, maybe Iron Man was a fluke. and then they were, and I saw Captain America and I was like, yeah, that was okay, but still not amazing,
Right.
And when Avengers was coming, now it's kind of, I was sort of, this is going to sound very hipstery, but I kind of hated Joss Whedon before it was cool. Like I never had drank the Kool-Aid.
I love Buffy.
Okay, and that's I'm not gonna bag, but like I just was never into it and never really got Joss Whedon, like any of the stuff he was doing. So when I heard he was doing Avengers, I was like, well, this could be a mess. Like this could be really bad. And I wasn't sure how they were gonna pull off and the Hulk, which I thought had never been done exactly right. And the effects had never been very convincing.
Right.
So when they got the Hulk and the Avengers right, now I was like, all right, now we're in business. Like maybe they do have something.
Yep.
But yes, so then I was in, and now I was just thinking today, it's a quote. Anyone who's known me for any length of time has heard me use this quote before because I feel like it applies in so many situations.
Right.
But there's a quote by William Hazlitt, who's like an English writer, who said, familiarity may not breed contempt, but it dulls the edge of admiration. And I was kind of thinking that today where like I almost have caught myself thinking like I'm a little bored of some of the MCU. Yeah. And that to me is like familiarity is dulling the edge of admiration. When you think of what they've done, and you think of all the movies they've done, and even the worst ones are kind of, it's like the proverbial like pizza, like even the bad ones are still pretty good. Like
pizza and nachos. Yep.
It's pretty amazing. Like it is shocking, and how well they've been able to sort of weave these together. Even though I agree with you, there's no way they could have had it perfectly mapped out. They might have known kind of where they were going, but they weren't getting ahead of themselves like I think DCU was, as, Warner Brothers. I think we're getting ahead of themselves.
Yeah. I'll say, I think the money for the MCU was about when the first Avengers came out. I said, I got to go back and watch these movies over again to fit it. And then once it mattered that there was effort to almost every little detail, anything is going to have a plot hole if you look hard enough.
Sure.
But the attention to detail, almost minute to minute in these movies, from Iron Man to Endgame, is great. It's fantastic. You can't imagine that somebody can do something like this, no matter how much of a team they have on it. Just a fantastic run. Captain Marvel, not one of my favorites as far as story goes, and the newest Spider-Man, Far From Home, I wasn't bananas about the story.
I still haven't seen Far From Home. Captain Marvel was a shame because I feel like, I think that was just it got kind of a bad rap. I mean, it was one of the most successful, disappointing movies of all time. So it's like, you can't cry too much about it. Like, it's it's fine, but like, I'm fine being $1 billion. Like, it did fine. But, I think like it's a shame when you see like the online chatter. I think Brie Larson gets kind of an unfair rap where like, that script is not great. To me, it's almost like the prequel effect where like people going after Hayden Christensen or something where it's like, or Natalie Portman, where it's like, I think they did the best they could with, this kind of weak script.
This story would have mattered much more if they had made a Captain Marvel in space already at her max power story. And then go back to this, backstory with young Sam Jackson, and especially like with the height of Infinity War, and then it was Captain Marvel. Like, and it was way out of place, and it didn't really give us any answers to what was coming next, which I guess was on purpose because it didn't stop me. I still remember the day I found out that Infinity War was out early and scrambling and literally like I moved money out of my bank to pay my credit card to buy my ticket.
Wow.
Because I just didn't have enough money on my credit card at the time.
Yes, you needed just enough.
I just needed a little bit more. And it was just, that movie was a moment in time. Like, that was like, you seeing Endgame live that day, gosh, guys, I sound like a silly old man, but it was a moment. Like, that it mattered to me to be at the movies that night. It was, it was such an intense, fun movie.
Well, just to take the temperature, what's everyone's favorite MCU movie like to date right now? Like, if we just go around just to get a feel.
Okay.
Oh man,
that is a
personal favorite. You don't have to say like that's the best one, but it's the one that you like the most.
Okay. Easy. My personal favorite is Black Panther, and I'll tell you why. I love the movie, but to come home from work and to see your kids glued to the TV watching Black Panther at 5 and 8 at the time, it was like when I watched Last Dragon as a kid. Like, I knew at that point they were going to have a movie. And it was pretty cool. That was a moment. But movie, Infinity War. I'm adding Aaron to the chat now.
All right.
Welcome, Aaron. We're just shooting the shit about MCU movies. How's it going, man?
Hey.
What's up, fellas?
How's it
Aaron,
going?
we've never talked in person. Nice to meet you, and I gotta say, I love your work. I'm a big fan of your work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Great to meet you finally.
Yeah, because we
enjoy my beer here.
Oh
Okay,
man, so we're just talking about our favorite MCU movies. We're not breaking every single movie down. We're just kind of discussing it in terms of storytelling and longevity and like what our favorites out of the MCU are at the moment. That's kind of where we are now, just to catch you up.
Gotcha.
Guardians was awesome, Frank. I really enjoyed both of those movies.
Yeah, Guardians surprised me too, because that's another one kind of like Iron Man back in the day, where I was like, I don't give a shit about Guardians of the Galaxy. You know?
I knew nothing about those characters.
I don't know anything about them. Like, I'm kind of like, I think already I was sort of over Chris Pratt. You know, like I was like, all right, does this guy have to be in every new movie? Like, you know, like what is happening? But then I saw it, and it, like everybody else, I totally loved it. I thought
it was an awesome movie. Both movies were, but it was interesting to see something that mattered to some people, and like to me, I just enjoyed it because it was a cool movie. Both movies actually, and but I knew
about Drax for me. Drax was hysterical.
So funny in both movies. Like his humor was like on point. Even in like he still mattered even in those later Avengers movies. Like his humor was on point when they were battling on Titan. Like hilarious.
I'll watch any movie he's in now just because of his role in Guardians.
Right.
Yeah,
that's it.
In a shot.
Yeah.
But like, isn't he lobbying hard to be Bane or something?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He wants to be Bane.
Like that would be cool, I guess.
Yeah, if they would tell a real Bane story instead of that weird Pinky and the Bane story. I didn't understand why he was a mastermind. Like he's muscle. Like he's really good muscle.
Right.
You know. But anyway, so Gary or Ronnie or Aaron, what's y'all's favorite Marvel movie?
You know what? I just can't get away from Winter Soldier. I love.
That's a good one.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of them. There's probably about 5 that would tie for second place.
Yeah.
But Winter Soldier is always like, I feel like I can that's one of those movies. It's like kind of like My Empire Strikes Back, where I could just watch that over and over. Like it's always cool to me. Like every little part is, I think it's especially like being, you know, like all of us, you know, I think there's a tendency in geek culture to kind of nitpick things after a while and like, that didn't quite, like it's one of those movies like Empire Strikes Back, like The Thing, like, you know, these other movies where it's like, I wouldn't change anything. I think it's just right. Like, it's just, you know, and I can't say that about too many of the other MCU movies, even though I might love them. So,
you know,
for sure.
That's a good one. Yeah. You know, it's like Civil War, Winter Soldier, and what's the other movie I'm thinking of? Civil War, Winter Soldier, and the first Captain America are just kind of like the reality of the history of the MCU. Like it's still just humans fighting humans, and it's still gritty, and it's still uncomfortable at times. Yeah.
Well, and it's why it's part of why I think I enjoyed Falcon and the Winter Soldier more than like WandaVision. Because WandaVision, I admired some of what WandaVision was doing. There's this thing that one of the Red Letter Media guys says that sticks in my head, but it's like, I think I admired it more than I liked it when it came to WandaVision. Like I was sort of, I liked it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. They're doing a thing about grief and mourning and, you know, like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it's sort of a character thing rather than a plot thing. But like I found Falcon and the Winter Soldier is just easier to kind of, you know, I don't know, the character's more interesting and like this is a little more real, and therefore easier for me to get into. But,
yeah, I can see that. That's cool. What about you, Ronnie? What you got?
Falcon and Winter Soldier was good, but just because I'm such a big fan of the character, I was very happy when the Doctor Strange movie come out, because when I like, okay, Doctor Strange, there's so much that they could do with this character in this universe. And I can't wait to have the multiverse where him and Scarlet Witch team up, or what's going on, because there's, like I said, so much history with Doctor Strange, and I feel that he's going to become the new Iron Man going forward and taking that leadership role.
I hope it's big. I was dying for him to show up in WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
It was just one of those things where it's like the Sorcerer Supreme should care about what's going on.
Yeah, and
especially after they mentioned him by name,
man. Like,
and in Infinity War, when you saw Doctor Strange fight Thanos, I'm
so
like,
cool.
Why does he need anyone else's help?
I love that scene, and I mean, because I was a little underwhelmed by Doctor Strange in the movie, like Doctor Strange's movie. So, but he was totally redeemed in Infinity War when you saw like full on weird magic wizard battle nonsense with like the multiple arms and changing things into butterflies, and it's like, this is exactly what I wanted from the movie. Like I wanted that psychedelic Strange thing, with the magic.
Yeah, because now you could go down that supernatural element where we're at some point we're going to have Blade, and who else knows whether science fiction supernatural will have, because with the whole WandaVision, people had so many like theories about that, because in the comics, Wanda's children was pretty much created because they took some of the essence from Mephisto, the demon of that universe.
Right.
So, and people are like saying, "Oh, it's probably Mephisto." I hope at one point,
like, he's going to show up, or Nightmare, I guess.
Yeah,
or no, Morpheus or whatever.
Yeah, at some point, I would love to see a Mephisto or any of those like nightmarish characters in the MCU, because you can't really have like Blade in the near future, whenever that's coming out, to not have him fight like something supernatural.
Now I heard, and I have no idea, and I don't know if they would really care about this, but I heard that they're not going to work in Mephisto or whatever because China has some thing about devil imagery in their movie. Like they're not going to allow that. So then you would be blocking off that market. I don't know, but like,
interesting.
So it's like,
I can see how it would be uncomfortable.
That sounds 100% true.
Yeah, I mean, I buy it. But it's like I know, Marvel would love to. They want that audience. Like they're trying to. It's like, look, if we can get 1 billion more theater goers, like that.
Right. The only reason there's another Ant-Man. Ant-Man didn't do well here, but it blew up in China.
Is that right?
Yeah, and see.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they love that. It's the number one movie over there. Ant-Man.
That makes sense.
Interesting.
Like I've always, I can't speak for everyone, but I've always been a little underwhelmed by Ant-Man. So it's like, why are they still making Ant-Man?
Because everybody likes Paul Rudd.
Yeah, because he's likable. That's about it. Yeah.
And I'll talk a little bit more about Ant-Man once Aaron says what his favorite movie is.
Oh yeah, Aaron.
Just Ragnarok, the Thor Ragnarok.
Oh yeah.
That was a solid movie. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I enjoyed that movie.
I just laughed from beginning to end. So
it's
one of those things where I had to see. You got to understand, I grew up reading, the 70s and 80s comics, right? And then I dropped out soon after the whole Image revolution, right? Like after the main founders of Image, went and did a round or two, then I dropped off of comics entirely at that point. So I'm stuck in the past when it comes to certain heroes. Like I've always hated the Avengers. Yeah. So I like the MCU Avengers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So but I'm not up to date with what they're supposed to be doing or anything like that. And that's why I enjoy the movies. Because I had a hell of a problem with the X-Men for years.
Yeah.
Until First Class came along. I had major issues with the X-Men. And then I was like, oh no, this is good,
100%. I was just having a conversation with a comic friend the other day. I guess he had gotten into a big conversation with another comic friend of mine about the current state of the X-Men in the comics. And I was like, I haven't followed it. And he was like, well, when was the last time you were an X-Men comic? And I was like 25 years ago. Like, I mean, I don't, and that kind of,
like, Smith was drawing it
before we started this. I kind of checked out of like floppies about when I started to get into video games, like when I got a Nintendo in like the late 80s. So like pre-80s, my comic knowledge is pretty good, Anything past that, it's mostly MCU. like, which and graphic novels. Like that's when I got into like, oh, well, Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen and V for Vendetta. And, like I started reading all that stuff, but like I lost track of whatever Marvel or DC was doing. Right. So that's why the MCU, it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. Even though there's probably comic people who are like, oh, this isn't right because in episode, issue 320, like, I don't know any of that.
Kind of like the comic book man from Simpsons.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Episode
23. So
I know nothing about old Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Aaron.
Oh no, I just said I'm a Hulk fan to death, so I had to learn to deal. You know what I mean? Because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, you need Hulk. No, that's all you need. Just piss him off enough. You know? Right. Let him get knocked out once or twice, and then that third round, it's over. I was like, that's all you need. Everybody else just go home. Yeah. But so I had to learn to deal with this new Bruce Banner hybrid that I know was in the comics, but like I said, that's when I failed.
Yeah.
So a smart Hulk is a weak Hulk. Couldn't beat up Thanos, man. Come on.
I would love to see them somehow
World Breaker Hulk
figure out how to like roll back Hulk a little bit, because like I don't know. I grew up with the Bill Bixby series, and which I had loved. And as a kid, and you can see the similarity, I was totally into werewolves and the Hulk. I loved this idea of like the story idea of like a generally good or decent man being cursed with this like thing, this affliction that turned him into something else. I thought that was fascinating. And that's kind of why I've always been down for the Hulk. Like I thought the Hulk was just the coolest. I love this idea of this guy who's, trying to like avoid people and trying to not get angry and trying to like do something about this. Once in a while, like life intervenes and he goes on a little rampage. So when you got like, well, now he's a scientist and now his fucking arm's in a sling. It's like, no, I'm sorry. Like this is it's breaking my heart to see this. So here's my hope. How do you pronounce this guy's last name? Is it Feige or the Kevin Feige?
Feige. Kevin Feige. Yeah.
Have him to try and fix his arm, get a double dose of gamma, and it rolls him back into Savage Hulk or something. Like, please, like this.
Well, they are making a She-Hulk TV show, and he's going to be in it. So
I'm seeing, and if She-Hulk is smart, like she typically is in the comics, it's kind of stupid to have them both walking around being lawyers and scientists. Like maybe this is an excuse to make Banner go back to being dangerous.
Well, Abomination's on the show, so the Abomination is on the show.
Oh, that would be cool.
That's awesome.
So he's got Hulk's number, so he's gonna kick his ass and
and maybe he'll need that edge to be like. And Abomination, Jason and I were like, is he on the raft or where is he? Like, where is he been this whole time?
Exactly. Yeah, like
I mean,
this is like after every episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, like me and Gary have these like quick like 15-minute conversations about like what's going on behind the scenes.
Are mutants coming? Where's Abomination? What's going on?
That's
well,
a
not
good
just
idea.
Abomination.
That's a good idea.
Someone would show up. Where is Rhodey? We saw him in like the first episode. Again, like New York is falling apart. Rhodey is like catching up on Netflix or something. What are you doing?
Like besides Abomination, if we're gonna have another Hulk movie, bring in the leader.
Yeah, like, and who's still out there too.
Yeah, like an actual like Hulk person that's smart.
Apparently, they can't make another Hulk movie because they don't have the rights.
Yeah,
they could use the Spider-Man stuff like they got going on with Sony.
They could use the Hulk in movies. They just
can't make a Hulk.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. And that's how they did sort of Planet Hulk with Thor. You know,
I see. Yeah.
Well, it's like going back to the whole fans, like, we saw the first Avengers movie that was a really big success and everything. And, the one thing that they did get right is that when the Avengers first came together, their first villain that they had to fight was Loki. But you didn't have some of these other characters in it. You had the original Ant-Man and the Wasp in the first Avengers. And then it wasn't Iron Man and the Hulk making Ultron, it was actually Ant-Man who made him in the comics.
Or
but you know,
the original Ant-Man, right?
Yeah.
Like
Hank Pym. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, a lot of fans, you know, they were upset about that. But when you really think about it from a writing perspective, it makes more sense that Iron Man made it, because he's like, you know, having PTSD and with all this stuff going on, because the man literally flew into space with a bomb that could have destroyed the whole city.
Oh, Frank.
Well, and they've made Iron Man like the science guy. So like in the MCU, like if someone's gonna build a robot, like it's gonna be Iron.
Arms dealer.
Like
exactly.
Arms dealer of the Avengers. Everybody forgets about that. That's why I like him. That's why his outfits are cool. You know what I mean? In all seriousness.
Yeah.
That's why his suits are so awesome, is because he was an arms dealer.
Yep.
Right.
It's like never addressed that again.
Right.
And it was awesome that they actually had him like going from his Mark 1 all the way up to his latest model within the movie, because reading the comic book, he had the big bulky suit in the beginning. So it's cool that they actually took the time to write that out and to have each costume fully detailed like it is.
So can I will offer a comic book guy from The Simpsons gripe. Is anyone else tired of the weird appearing and disappearing helmets on all the characters? Like, doesn't that seem like a weird, like, you know, that these helmets that just like Ant-Man, Iron Man, like all of them that just sort of appear and go over their head? Like, there's something about that seems so like cheap.
You can't suspend belief beyond
pop out CG, you know, like I don't know. It seems.
But what would you want them to carry? You want them to carry the helmet?
That's
like a little backpack.
That's like capes, right? Like
you
can't justify cape. Does Marvel have capes? Marvel has no capes, right?
Other than
Thor doesn't even have a cape.
Other than Thor.
Oh, and Vision.
Who?
Vision.
Thor, Vision, Doctor Strange.
Those three.
Doctor Strange, it makes sense because his
Doctor Strange makes sense. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No one else's cape makes sense other than just to be true.
Yeah, I can tell. Were they sort of suggesting in Age of Ultron that Vision made a cape because he saw Thor and he was like, that looks hot? And like, I think it was that moment, like, he doesn't have it. And then he sees Thor and he looks at him and then like this cape appears. Like, is that the whole rationale for Vision?
I think it was in the hammer. I think it was in the lightning. I think the cape, like, imprint was in the lightning when he woke up.
So
Vision,
something about being touched by it made him.
Yeah, exactly. It was like,
man, that sounds silly.
That is kind of hard. No matter what, it's kind of silly. You know,
that sounds so silly.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for stopping by, Keith. Man, have a good one.
Yeah.
And the cape. You know how I feel about capes.
Yeah.
Anti-cape.
Oh, I hate capes. I hate. Yeah, don't get me started on that. That's the whole Superman, Batman thing. Well,
it's like
Batman,
the Incredibles here, no capes.
Yeah. I'm just one of those guys that I sit there and I look at the outfits that they're wearing and I'm like, you can't fight in that. Or, oh, that's awesome. So I've always appreciated the X-Men because,
like, the tactical.
Yeah, they're just wearing leather, but it's something you can actually fight in.
Something kind of. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
And you weren't dressed like the Justice League. They're wearing their original. They're staying true to the comic, and I'm like, Wonder Woman's a stripper. She's fighting in the streets. There's no other way to say it.
Just I'd like to see a Wonder Woman that looks more like, you know, some Amazon princess warrior, like someone who looked like dangerous and ready to like mix it up and like not like,
well, I've got
the sorority girl on Halloween, you know. Like,
I mean, I have no problem with Gal Gadot. I just have a problem with.
Yeah. No, she did a good job. I do wish she was beefier. You know, like I want to see kind of a brawny Wonder Woman. You know, like
here goes my gripe. I'm gonna gripe.
Okay.
The Black Widow should have been what's her name? Olga. What's her name? Korienko from Hitman, the original Hitman movie.
Oh,
Russian. He's like 6 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
I know
She's Russian.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone who looks like they could
have been the
actually,
Black Widow.
yeah,
Not,
themselves.
not what's her name? I can't stand her. Sorry.
That was the one thing I did like about the Ben Affleck casting for Batman is like of all the Batman we've seen in our lifetimes, like this is it. Like when Affleck got big, like I was like, that's a guy you don't want to run into in an alley. Like
for sure.
He could like move it up,
and he's got the face.
Yeah,
and he's billionaire playboy.
Right. Where like Michael Keaton did a fine job. And I like the Michael Keaton ones. But like I never believed that this guy is getting
it was what we had.
It was what we had, but like there's no way this guy's taking on like 6 guys in an alley and not getting his ass kicked. You know,
No.
I mean, like, you need someone who you can imagine can throw people around, you know.
Yeah.
That's my other gripe. Now I'm gonna gripe.
Okay.
My last gripe. Superheroes can't fight.
Yeah.
They can't fight. That's why the cities are destroyed. They're throwing each other around all the time.
Yeah.
Instead of kicking and punching and elbowing and grappling. That's why when you get somebody like Shang-Chi coming around, they just whoop your ass. And it's over. No destruction. So if you notice the martial arts superheroes don't destroy much. You know,
but you're right. There's not a lot of destruction in New York with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
I got a gripe. I got a gripe after he does.
I hope we have a moment of Shang-Chi having to face off against some super powered person and one-upping them because of what you're saying. Because these people, they've been leaning on the fact they're super strong or super fast, but they don't really know what they're doing. And this guy has spent his whole life training on what to do. Like, I think you should see that difference. I think you should see him kind of like I loved how the Wakandan, I forgot what they call the guards, like the female guards, but like how they knew this special place to touch to make Bucky's arm fall off. Like, I thought that was
but
awesome.
they would.
That was so because they would. And I was like, Shang-Chi needs something like that where when he meets up with someone, he knows like, well, if I do this and this and this, you're screwed. You know, like
Shang-Chi could be like the Batman, so to speak, like to have everybody's number, to not necessarily match him, but he's got everybody's number in a way in the entire universe. Like,
Batman's evil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Batman's not a good person. That's he's
right.
He's not well in the head.
No,
why everybody loves him.
Yeah,
because everybody could relate, but he actually crosses every damn line that's out there.
I think
Batman is falling down.
Yeah,
he is. Well, and in terms of story, like, you know, the topic here being storytelling, I've always loved how it's a little subversive that in Dark Knight, that's the one, right? The second Nolan one.
Yeah.
That is, to me, it kind of reads as a weird, like, George W. Bush fairy tale where it's like, well, if we listen in on every phone in the whole world, we can find the bad guys. And I like, if we trample on, you know, like, it's kind of this weird, and no one notices it because they're like, yeah, punch the Joker. Like, they're all in for it. Like, they want to, you know, but when you really think about it, it's like, this guy's a son of a bitch. Like, he's really pushing, you know, he's stepping across so many lines. And then he has the gall to lecture Harvey Dent on, like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, you know, it's like, what have you been doing for 15 years, asshole? Like, I mean, like, stop it. Yeah, oh, now you're too good. You're too good to interrogate this guy in a room.
That's awesome.
No, that movie felt like Batman was jealous of the Joker, like, for showing up and like taking over. He's like, wait a minute, like, I'm the one who makes these people scared.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'll make the good guys and the bad guys. I'll make everybody kill each other. Batman's like, nope. Interesting theories, guys.
And now my gripe. I'm happy that Shang-Chi is coming out and it's called the 10 Rings, because now we could actually have a real fucking Mandarin.
Yes.
Like people said that, oh, Iron Man 3 is so great. I hated it when I found out that the Mandarin was a fake. The Mandarin is such a great character like with the 10 different rings with all the powers and stuff like that. That's like the same thing when you had like the Netflix version of the Iron Fist and you never got to see the damn dragon that he got to fight to get the power. So I'm like, you're missing out
like every
on
other
this
episode. Like having the dragon.
Like the Mandarin is a very powerful being.
Yeah.
And to not have him and just make a joke out of it with Iron Man 3, I was disappointed.
I hope
Ben Kingsley for that joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Like big money.
Marvel has a terrible reputation of killing off their villains. I hope they keep the Mandarin alive. Like the Mandarin, the MCU needs more good villains and like serious villains that are still floating around out there.
Kill the Mandarin.
They better not. And I don't
political reasons you won't kill the Mandarin, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
You can't kill the Mandarin. You're gonna kill off a lot of your audience.
Well,
but like if he could grow
up for the weird Mandarins you've showed them, like you can't bring them a real Mandarin and kill them. You know, like you gotta. I think you gotta keep them in. But.
Like I don't know about the Mandarin, but just like with Loki, next month is going to be his TV show. I guarantee it if they bring in, because they did announce the Fantastic Four, I guarantee it that besides Loki, Doctor Doom is going to be playing a big part in this universe as well if they decide to bring him in. Doctor Doom is basically the villain version of Iron Man. The man has his own country.
He's supposed to be basically a genius. Like
he is the villain. You can't not have Doctor Doom in the MCU. That's
the man literally outsmarted Thanos to get the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah,
you know, and he's done so much.
How crazy would it be if everybody's expecting that Norman Osborn is who's buying up all this stuff in New York, and it's really Victor Von Doom?
Yeah,
that would be nuts. Like that would be so awesome, and it would tie in the magic so well with Doctor Strange and Wanda Maximoff. That would be cool. I would enjoy that.
Spending so much time in, Central and Eastern Europe in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I was like, can we even just get like a hint of Doom somewhere?
Yeah,
or
you might say Latvia. Yeah,
some little have Zemo say something that makes you just let it's out there somewhere.
Yeah,
Kind of like you did with Madripoor, where it's like we're going to stick to this one little bar. We're not going to go into this area. Like do something like it's like no, we're not going to go. We're not going to cross the border. We don't want to go over to Doomland.
Right.
Like that's something that it's like just let me know he's out there, and please do him justice when he shows up. He's another one kind of like the Mandarin, who's just gotten such terrible incarnations in the past movies. Like I would love to see like a very comic, just like I'm still waiting for a very comic accurate Wolverine. I mean, I love Hugh Jackman, and so he was the bright point of a lot of bad X-Men movies, but I would love to see a 5 foot tall, muscular, weird cigar smoking Wolverine. Like I would like not someone who looks like Clint Eastwood in Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Like I want.
There was a wrestler that nobody.
There
was a wrestler that nobody talks about anymore that would have made a fantastic Wolverine before he went bananas. But
I know who you're talking about.
That's another story for another.
Even after he went bananas, he could have gone in there. Everything bananas. That's the point.
Yes. If I help.
Yeah. They could have started it. I know. I'm not.
You only need it for the scenes.
Frank, I'm not insulting Hugh Jackman. I'm insulting casting him as Wolverine.
I agree. It was a turn on for me before I saw the movies. Before I saw the movies, I wasn't crazy about it.
I never got over that. Got over that.
Yeah.
He was literally the opposite of Wolverine. Literally the opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
But even his acting career is like the opposite of the guy who would play Wolverine.
Like a musical theater guy.
Yes.
Look, he's great. He's a great actor. I love him. He's not right for that. Like you might as well cast him for Professor X. I mean, it's just like it doesn't make any sense. Cast him for Jean Grey. Like it's the same thing.
That's funny.
That's gonna happen soon. But
it might.
So have y'all marathoned the entire movies like over again?
No.
No.
I've started a bunch, but I've never made it through to the end. I'll sometimes just jump to Infinity War, but even that's like a 2-day prospect for me. For me now to sit at the TV for 3.5 hours.
How long would that even be? Isn't there something like 20 movies? Like how long?
Yeah, it's like
before the
coronavirus 3,000 minutes.
Yeah, before the coronavirus came out, down here in Florida, some of my friends from work was going to the Marvel marathon where they would watch all the movies from Iron Man up to the recent one. And if you went through the whole like movies and you never fell asleep, you actually got a bunch of gifts and trinkets like that. But I'm like, I'm not going to sit through this like 20 hours. Yeah.
Was one of the gifts they re-granted you your virginity? Was that one of the presents?
Right. It's like, okay, if I was gonna go there, I'm gonna find times to like watch, like to fall asleep. I'm like, okay, the word Dark World, I'm gonna sleep through that.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know, it's funny. I saw that movie twice because I didn't remember seeing it the first time.
Yeah.
And I got 3/4 of the way through and said, oh, I saw this.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes
want to be here right now.
Rotten Tomatoes actually gave it like a 67. So that was like one of the lowest ratings for the MCU movies at that time.
Dark World.
Yeah, Dark World.
Yeah, I honestly, I know I saw it and I remember like 2 parts of it. It was just, I guess it was just totally forgettable. Like I remember Thor getting his hand fake cut off.
Yeah.
And I kind of remember, the elf bad guy, I guess. I don't know. Like, it was just so, that's why I was so shocked by Thor 3, because I couldn't believe how great it, like how much I loved it. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
That was a really
the best Thor movie.
Like,
yeah.
That was like one of the first MCU movies that was like individual, that was like really mattered to me since the first Iron Man. The rest of them I just
rock guy. Oh man,
yeah,
just
that was
so many, just such great action and humor in there. Like just seeing the, I can't remember the rock guy just running towards Loki's like hologram. It's like piss off, ghost, and then kicks the wall.
Sometimes I'll just turn on that movie or either the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Just have them on in the background because they're so pretty to look at, and they all like they're just fun stories. But visually, those are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
But they're just like linchpins in the story too, but you don't realize it until you watch them a few times. That you just think that they're Marvel movies, but everything follows that beat, and that's the most impressive thing to me is they just go together so well. That's what we talked about earlier, Aaron. Is like how crazy is it that from Iron Man to Endgame, it's really one story.
Yeah.
You know, one complete story from beginning to end.
And if there are plot holes, and I'm sure there are, because I mean, you know, mistakes happen. But like, if there are, none of them are glaring. Like, I've never watched. The only one I'm a little fuzzy on is like exactly like the chronology, like when like in relation to all of them.
When
like,
are we? Yeah,
it's a little weird, but none of it stands out as like, but wait a minute, in the last movie they said, and now they're saying, like, I've never had anything like that really.
Yeah.
Like, it seems pretty clean.
Yeah, it is.
I've watched so many of those little side YouTube shows where they analyze these things. Right? I've seen so many of them where they're watching at like 0.25 speed and stuff, and they find all these little details. And I think it's fucking absolutely insane how they will find things tying, like you said, the first freaking Iron Man to a clue to something that's coming in the next movie. Because they were dropping X-Men clues back then.
Yeah.
Preparing for it just in case they got the license for the movie and stuff. And so like that to me is the most impressive thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's to be honest, all the Avenger movies just rolled into one giant movie for me after 10 years. And so I don't know what scene is from what movie. I just know it happened. Which is a testament to the story being consistent and smooth, right?
Sure.
From beginning to end.
There's a lot of years in between those movies too.
But other than Ragnarok and the Guardians of the Galaxy, because those literally pull you out, right, and take you somewhere else. Those stand out, but everything else to me becomes one giant Avengers movie that took me 10 years to watch.
But with
really
Civil War, with Civil War, when they introduced Spider-Man, that was just a big moment because people are like, when are you going to have Spider-Man? Spider-Man has so much history with the Avengers and all this stuff going on. And when they finally had him like steal Captain America's shield and with the eyes like blinking and everything, I think that was like an awesome moment for a lot of Spider-Man fans.
I love the expressive.
It was a really cool visual. Yeah.
What just worked out kind of beautifully with the MCU is, I think one of my, again, like comic book guy gripes about the past Spider-Man movies was I never believed that a high school kid made this costume, like, and that's such a big part of it. And it's like, it looked like a Hollywood special effects team made this costume.
Yeah.
So it made sense that he was wearing basically sweats until he met Tony Stark, and Tony Stark made him this crazy thing where it's like, oh, well, that works. Like, okay, now we can, because I love the expressive eyes and everything. That's very cool. That's right. And now you're just saying he made the web, which is like, I can buy that. I just can't buy that he sewed together a costume in his room. Like, secretly. Like that. I mean, have you been to Comic-Con? Have you seen costumes people make themselves? It does not look like that.
Yeah, right.
Not.
That's something about Spider-Man, though. That movie, it was good.
Yeah.
And it was done well. And I can tell it was because I can't stand anybody in that movie. They're all teenagers and they drive me crazy. Yeah. Their decisions, the way they act. Seriously, that movie annoyed me. I was like, no, it's a good movie. But that sidekick of his, that friend.
Oh, the friend.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, God. He was driving me crazy. I was constantly asking him questions. And I'm like,
well, we could talk about theories here. Can we talk about theories?
Let's talk theories.
Sure. If you want to talk theories,
his friend. Have you seen a picture? Have you seen a picture of his friend?
He's gotten fit.
He's muscle. He's not fat.
What? Really?
Yeah. Because when you look up his name, it is actually the same character's name tied to the Hobgoblin.
Oh, no way. Interesting.
Yes. Like Green Goblin was great, but like as a kid watching the 90s Spider-Man cartoon and stuff like that, I really liked Hobgoblin, and to maybe think that his friend is going to become like one of his greatest enemies.
It's the same story as the original Spider-Man movies. That's brilliant. That's awesome.
Well, because we've seen Harry Osborn, so like we don't need to see him again. So
Harry Osborn becomes a villain. You know it. That would be a cool twist. I like that theory.
And who's knows? With the multiverse, we might have his friend still his friend, and we just might have his friend from another universe tried to kill him at the same time. We don't know. But the fact is that name is connected to a supervillain. I hope that goes that route.
That could be
personally.
Cool. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm into it. I think that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard that Alfred Molina, Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2, was going to be in Spider-Man 4.
Because they're planning to have Toby and Andrew in the movie as well.
That's official.
Yeah, that's official.
He's even said that his character spot takes off where it ended at Spider-Man 2 in this movie.
So if we're going to just guess, like the thing that he made in Spider-Man 2, he gets sucked into it and pops out in a different dimension.
That seems like a possibility.
Basically, this is what's going on from what I got. Is that at the end? That's funny. At the end of WandaVision, we all seen the show, right?
Yes.
Sure.
She was going through the book. She heard her kids' calls. You have Doctor Strange into the multiverse. I guarantee it. Wanda is trying to find a universe where her kids are still alive, and during that, she messes up the whole multiverse, and everything is like coming together as one. So you're probably going to have all these three different Spider-Mans from all these different universes coming together. So it's going to be almost like a Spider-Man, just like the Spider-Verse CGI movie, but live action. It's probably going to be like that.
Right. I was hoping that when she pushed the borders of Westview, that she was going to expand it all the way to New York City, and that was going to be what created the Spider-Verse
Damn, listen to you. Nobody cares about dirt. You had to wait till it got all the way to New York before the Avengers did something.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff could happen in between now and then, but that would have been the big event.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
That would have been where the Spider-Verse happened. But I don't see. That's the kind of theories I'm curious about with y'all, because y'all are all storytellers. Like, what was your favorite theory that you came up with, like, during this run of whether it's TV shows or movies in the MCU? Like, what's been your favorite theory that you thought would have been awesome if it turned out to be true?
But it could still be true?
Sure, but could still be true. Also,
the one that I fell in love with, we were talking about once. I've always found it a little weird that Howard Stark was involved in the Captain America project, that the tech guy was doing the bio project. And I always thought it was a little weird that he had vibranium. And as a side thing, like a little casual about it, where it's like, we got this, the only much we have in the world, and you can just have it. Like, I mean, it's just, that was a little weird. But anyway, I thought it's like, he doesn't really fit in this group. But he's got vibranium. I would love it if it was retconned where, like, we do at the Stark Expo, he's got these floating cards, he's got this weird tech. I like this idea that somewhere along the way, like maybe 5-10 years before that, he found his way into Wakanda, and he's trying to kind of reverse engineer a lot of the stuff he saw. And like, that's why, like, he's got a little bit of vibranium. He's kind of like trying to work on like weird high-tech technology that a lot of that's like all Wakanda. And so to tie it back to Captain America, why is he in the bio project? I think maybe he got a glimpse of whatever the stuff is that the new kings huff that gives them like superpowers, like whatever that thing is.
Oh, the heart-shaped herb.
Yeah, and you do the trip, and now you're actually like kind of superhuman. I think it's like maybe him thinking like, maybe I can sort of figure out my own version of that. Like, I think that would be a cool way to sort of like make that all sort of make sense. Like, why does he have vibranium? Why does he know about Wakanda? How is he working on all this stuff? I don't know.
Because he's deep. He's the deep. What do you call that? Deep cover, whatever those guys call that. That he's he was a military contractor for the government. Of course, he'll know about vibranium.
See. Of course, I would like to see, like, well, let's, like, sort of tie it all up. That's
what I'm saying. They never addressed that. They never addressed the fact that Tony Stark is built on very dirty, dark background, which is why he's so powerful and has access to everything.
Everything he sold.
But he just said it. There was a Captain America shield, right? Before, in the Iron Man movie, way back.
Yeah, that's what Frank said. Yeah.
And they made reference to it again when they said that his father had built it. I forgot which Iron Man that was, 2, 3, or something.
I think in Civil War.
It was in Civil War, yeah.
Yeah, Civil War. He was like, well, that's when he took it back. He was like, you don't deserve that. Like, that's my father's field. Yeah. And I guess this is a weird colonial thing. Like, Killmonger would have something to say about that, where it's like, it's not your father's field.
Like, that's why I don't see Tony Stark as the tech guy at all. I've never seen him as the tech guy. To me, he's 100%. He's a genius, obviously, but to me, he's more Elon Musk, where it's engineering is what turns him on.
And he's got enough money.
The only way you can fund that is by doing dirty stuff, and there's nothing bigger than war. So you have to feed your dark passenger to steal from Dexter, right? Like,
I like that idea that he's.
I dig it. That's awesome.
Maybe like a Musk, like a carnival barker, a little bit, like a little bit of this is like
a showman, more than a hero,
So that's why I thought it'd be interesting to say like he's lifted a lot, he's lifting, and like Wakanda makes sense, especially if he's got vibranium. So
when you think about it, it was almost that Howard Stark tried to steal what an entire country was doing. Like he tried to take Wakanda's idea with a little bit of vibranium, and he created this weird animosity between his son and Steve Rogers, because they really were kind of his creations in a sense. And so that explains like that bitterness that they always had towards each other. Like, what do you do when you come face to face with the man your dad made when you felt like he was so bitter to you at home.
Right.
Like, that's gotta be weird. And this guy is the Superman of your universe. When you got a jetpack and like rocket hands, and now everybody loves Captain America. But Steve was good. Steve was exactly what he was supposed to be.
He was a good man.
Yeah, that's kind of one of my, like, I wouldn't even say it's a theory. It's just kind of a story that I enjoyed after the years of, absorbing these movies loosely over the course of time, and watching a few of them before the next big one comes out. So that's always been a fun story for me. But that's not really. I'll save my theory for a second.
Yeah, I want to hear other people
to see what Ronnie has to say.
Oh man, there's just so much stuff with theories. I mean, with the Loki TV show coming out, we see how he's going to basically be traveling through different time periods with the time police to try to fix things. Like we see through one of the parts of the trailer, like you see New York destroyed. So we're probably going to see what would happen to New York if Iron Man didn't put the bomb in space.
Yep.
So yeah. And it's just so many theories. Also, like someone on Instagram, like I guess photoshopped it, but people wanted to know the whole story of Captain America going back in time and making sure all the Infinity Stones went back to where they were. Like I would like to see that if it was in a TV, like a short movie TV show, because it would be interesting to see him and Red Skull's like conversation, like, hey, I hadn't seen you in years and all that stuff. That would have been interesting.
Right, on the planet Soul Stone, right?
Yeah, and it's a whole different, like, he's a whole different person now. Like, Red Skull is not Red Skull anymore as to how he was. So how did that go?
But to the theories, like we were talking about before Aaron got on, during the Falcon and Winter Soldier at the
the way you said that.
Sorry, it came off that way. But I want to see Bucky get his white wolf costume. Yeah, because they're always everyone from Wakanda is calling him White Wolf, Wolf, not like Bucky. And it would just be great because we got to see Sam get his Captain America outfit, and it's just amazing because it's just like the comics. And I like to see Bucky's character grow and all these other characters grow to become what they were meant to be. Just like with Scarlet Witch at the end, she was called the Scarlet Witch. You got to see her costume like it was in the comics, but with a little twist on it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. That's just my rant. Yeah.
I have no theories. I just wish, I only wish for a proper Silver Surfer movie. I love the Silver Surfer. Oh my God, the Silver Surfer, that John Buscema's Silver Surfer, Jack Kirby Silver Surfer. I mean, he was a vibranium before Aaron.
Before Aaron showed up.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of that.
Ronnie, you didn't sound like that.
No,
but it's a funny idea.
No, but
it sounded exactly like that.
Exactly. And you rolled your eyes too. There was I don't know if you realized it. You're like, before Aaron showed up.
It was all good.
But going off of what Aaron said, if we do get a Silver Surfer, I want to see a great Galactus, not that stupid fog cloud bullshit. Like if he's the main villain, I would like to see Galactus as like the main bad guy, just like Thanos. Yeah, that would be great because I mean, Galactus is huge.
Let me tell y'all what would be crazy, and this is kind of like a what if story. Imagine if when Steve Rogers was returning the stones, he gets stopped in space by Lady Death, who, because he's created so many worlds, because he's lived through so many times, and now he's able to travel quantum, he's got to start consuming the worlds he created, and he becomes Galactus. And Tony's punishment is to become his Silver Surfer.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That would be so nuts. That could be a fun story because it would all work, but Now it's like Justice League.
So you're saying the American superhero goes around the galaxy consuming every other planet?
I'm not saying.
Wow. That you realize what that looks like when you say it?
Everyone, you can direct your internet hate Jason.
Ronnie, I was just talking to Ronnie.
He's ruining MCU officially. You can talk. I'm just sitting here listening. I'm just a fan. I'm a fan like
Ronnie.
It's all him.
I said, Ronnie, what's going to happen if we have to kick somebody off our stream one day? And I have to kick myself off of our own stream now. Oh, no.
Move your microphone. That's outrageous.
Sorry, guys.
That's like the what if. That's like the what if movies coming out.
I'm excited about the what if series.
Yeah. Because with the what if we do see like a zombie Captain America. So are we going to see bits of like Marvel zombies? And then we saw like Agent Carter. She got the formula that made her really buff and everything. So
that's fun.
I tell you what,
Haley Atwell. Let's see more Haley Atwell. I think just put her in everything. That's great.
Because I actually did like her TV show.
It was good.
Between the way that they've done these shows and like just enough for the kids, like my daughter's obsessed with Hamilton. Disney Plus has done just enough.
No, they
haven't. Justify. No, you don't think so?
My kids are grown. Okay, and I jumped on specifically for WandaVision and what if. Those two specifically.
Yeah.
It took forever to get me, and I own all the other Marvel movies, so you weren't offering me anything.
Right.
And I've been paying for this thing forever, and I had to wait for WandaVision. Yeah. And which is why you saw I wasn't really into the Winter Soldier until I was into the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you can watch the whole thing as like one piece.
Like Netflix. I can't stand they brought it back to regular TV where I've got to wait every week for an episode. I got so used to just jumping in and spending 2, 3, 4 hours in a row, just
burn through.
And speaking of Netflix, like when you had Daredevil, you had
so good.
All these other shows. Some of their episodes was entwined with what happened with the movies. So when you found out that these shows were going off the air, I was mad because Daredevil was cool, Punisher, but my thing was Luke Cage. I really enjoyed that show, and to have it being going off the air, I was really pissed.
I heard they're working on integrating Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil, and Punisher. Yeah, they're all going to be MCU.
Well, Punisher definitely.
Yeah, I thought his casting was really good.
And Daredevil, they have no choice. And they're finding that out, that they have no choice. Which is why he's making a cameo in She-Hulk or something. As Matt Murdock.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Really?
Matt Murdock from Netflix is making
Spider-Man.
Or Spider-Man. I'm sorry, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It would make sense because he's trying to be his lawyer.
Would be like Peter Parker's attorney or something.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So they're probably going to test the waters with that, but they're not going to have a choice. You've only they failed us in the past with both Punisher and Daredevil movies. Finally Netflix does it and does it the way it should have been, which, by the way, remember my other gripe about the choreography in fights?
Yeah.
Daredevil was on point.
There we go.
When they body
remember that hallway fight in Daredevil? Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, the hallway fight was great.
Me think about, like, maybe, if we could get a Shang-Chi and Daredevil meeting, like, that would just be magic. Like, that would be the coolest. Like, what would their thing be? I can't. I want to see that.
I would love to see Shang-Chi and George Rush St. Pierre, even if they were on the same side for like a split second, just like wrecking shop before they fight each other.
You don't think so? Right? I can't. I personally can't. Because I watched every George St. Pierre fight. I know he's a real fighter. So when I watch him fight Chris Evans, I'm like, come on, man.
Just end it. Just end it now.
I'm like, so I will have, unless I find out this other actor is a martial artist, I'm going to have a problem when I see like Randy Couture, like when he was in Expendables, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear the behind the scenes, how many stuntmen he sent to the hospital?
Oh, really?
No way.
Yeah, because he's a real fighter, so you're going to get your ass kicked when you're fighting him, right? And so when I George St. Pierre, man, you're talking about one of the best ever.
Yeah.
So when I watch him in there, I'm like, I mean, they do him justice. They give him good fight scenes. They do.
Yeah. Like him and Captain America's fight scene.
Yeah, I really enjoyed those.
Yeah, that was a great fight scene between those two.
You used to shoot him in real life.
Even in Falcon and Winter Soldier, like I enjoyed his scenes. Like
no, that was all good. Yeah, they did a great job with that one. My favorite scene that I will never forget was when they introduced the Punisher and Daredevil. Right? Is that where they did that, or did Daredevil pop up in Punisher?
No, they Punisher popped up.
Punisher,
when they first fought on the roof.
Oh yeah.
Daredevil realizes that the bullet ricocheted off, and the guy's like, "No, this was done on purpose. The miss, like, this was point blank. There was no way the person could have missed unless they wanted to." And I was like,
"Right,
that's what I love about it, where they put the heroes in a position where you lost that fight.
Right,
the bad guy let you off.
Right,
That to me has always been the biggest difference between Marvel and DC. And I know we're talking mainly about Marvel, but as a kid growing up, I had a problem with, and this is the one that really did it. Did you ever see that oversized comic with Hulk against Superman when he fought Superman?
No.
I'm familiar. I haven't read it.
Yeah, none of you were born. That's why when it came out.
I would have been born. But I was aware of it, but I didn't read it.
Hulk and Superman were having the kind of fight you would think. One guy punches one. He's on the other side of the planet. Come back. The other guy hits him. So it's a long, drawn-out fight, right?
Right.
And so Superman decides, yeah, I don't want to be moved anymore, and he stands in that stance, right? Yep. And Hulk is wailing away at him until he passes out and becomes Bruce Banner. And I'm like,
what?
How did Marvel accept this? Because what was supposed to happen was Hulk's anger and rage just continues.
More and more and more.
Hulk has no limit. That's his power.
Right? What year was this?
He never would have stopped.
So at some point, Superman's got to go. Yeah, at the very least, go back to flying across the city like he was. He literally decided, I'm not going to be affected by punches anymore. And as a child,
I don't want to fight anymore.
I was like,
how does that work?
Yeah,
that broke me as a child, and I was like, DC sucks. This is BS. You can't take Marvel's strongest superhero and just turn him off.
Right. And he gets rope-a-doped like that.
Right.
Yeah. Witchcraft. If it was Constantine that did it or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I did like that bit of Endgame where Banner gets pushed out of the Hulk's body. I thought that's a clever way to deal with the Hulk. You know, where it's just like, okay, well, I'll separate your, like that was cool. That was because otherwise, how do you deal with it?
With Thanos? The fight with Thanos was inexcusable.
Oh, it drives me
crazy.
That shouldn't even. Yeah, and he only had one stone, right? At that point,
most of it, yeah.
Yeah, he had the Power Stone.
Sorry, we went back to gripes. I just can't let go of those.
I know. I feel like I'm responsible. I was the first.
No, it's my cloud.
Everyone,
I bring this cloud with me.
Aaron, when did that comic come out?
That would have been. When were the crossover ones? I thought those were like early '90s or something. Because didn't they do like Batman Punisher too?
Oh, like the amalgam? I don't think the amalgam. There was.
No, not those. I didn't even know about those.
No, that was before then.
They had the crossovers. Like you had Batman Punisher. You had Batman Spawn.
Spawn. That's right.
Yeah, that was that War Devil book. That was like that was like early.
I remember.
90s. That was
I remember
awesome.
Superman. Yeah, I remember Superman, and then he had to go back to Earth because they came across the Xenomorphs. I remember that when Superman met the aliens. Yeah. Like he had to actually go back to Earth because if he was on a different planet and they didn't have the yellow sun. So imagine like a xenomorph busting out of his chest having the powers of Superman. That's why they had to go back to Earth.
I need to see that.
Okay.
No, I missed that one.
Yeah,
but then you even had like the comics where like Predator was fighting Batman. So they did a lot of stuff in the 90s.
Yeah.
By the way, you guys all familiar with the Final Fantasy animations, right? The movies.
Oh yeah.
That are out there. How gorgeous those look. I want every Hollywood actor fired. No, I want them all reduced to voice actors, and I want every superhero movie done by those studios because this way you get the super realism, but you get the 100% bullshit you need them to do. You need him to, the phasing through the wall looks more natural. You can get Galactus you can get the Silver Surfer the way he's supposed to be. You can get, you know.
I would totally be into that.
I think that's part of what made Into the Spider-Verse so cool. Was like I don't think I'm trying to picture that movie live action, and it just wouldn't be the same, you know. And part of it because it was just so visually awesome, but second because it's like, you know, Kingpin has to look a certain way, you know, like
it was perfect. His head below his shoulders, it was like just big brute.
It was like right here.
yeah, his head and he's just like a square, just like
he's like looking at a door frame of his body. But no, if I had to show somebody a comic book movie that had never read a comic book, it would be Spider-Verse. Like so I think that's the coolest movie it's the coolest comic book movie that exists.
That's cool on so many different levels. I mean, just from the animation standpoint, it's mind blowing. I don't know if you've ever seen the behind the scenes and how they actually had to skip frames to get that look. They had to mess up on purpose,
right,
to get it to look like that. I mean,
it took them years to get it to look right. It's just beautiful, and I just couldn't believe it because I mean, we had been on a run of very mediocre Spider-Man movies, and I sat down to see that one because everyone was saying it was amazing. So I was like, all right, we'll try. Here we go. Like, we'll see, you know, and I sat there and I remember 10 minutes in turning to my friend I was seeing with, was like, am I feeling joy? Like, what is happening? Like, how is this possible?
That's great.
Like, did Sony actually do kind of the perfect Spider-Man movie? Like, I'm in disbelief.
You know, and that's another movie, like I was saying about Black Panther, how cool it was to see my son and my daughter like watching that without me being in the room or even with me at work. Like that's a movie that they just kind of gravitated to for a few months. And my son looks so much like Miles Morales. Like he loves, and it's like now he's like invested in a comic book, and he gets to grow up with a comic book that's everybody can read, and it's a personal attachment, and maybe that carries him through to do something with it like I am. And it's like, that's what counts. Like when people get so frustrated over little things, like, no, like it matters to me at home, not because it matters on TV. Like it matters to me every day. And that's something that I am grateful, which that's something I don't like big machines, but that's something I am grateful to Marvel for, is they've got a mainstream character that they didn't have to change. He's not Peter Parker, but he counts as much as.
Right.
And that's really, really cool. Like he's his own man now, and he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Just as much as Batman is Batman, he's Spider-Man, but he's not Peter Parker. And I don't know. It's just really cool to see.
That part of me is missing. I wish I had that part.
Yeah.
Seriously, no, I'm being serious. Like I don't have that attachment with the characters in comics like that. Like I look at that whole Miles Morales thing, and you know me, I look at that and I said, you had to do that if you wanted to stay relevant and make your money. You had to make that shit.
That's part of it too. Yeah.
To do it. So that's why I'm saying I wish I could have seen it that way, because I was just like, I didn't even thought about that.
Right.
Immediately,
that's
I'm
why
thinking
it is a money maker.
Making money.
Yeah, that just goes to what's the actor's name that plays Falcon? I can't remember on the top of my head. His full name.
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony
Mackie.
Yeah, but Anthony recently I think like after he got his Captain America Falcon suit, he released a picture of him being young, dressed up as Captain America when he was a kid. So it's great that you got to see him actually say, hey, one day I'm going to be a Captain America. And he did, you know, so it's really great to see all this stuff like Black Panther and all this stuff, because you pretty much, you know, I'm not going to lie, most of Hollywood superhero movies were all a bunch of white people. And it was good to actually have like, you know, more characters like Chang-Chi, Black Panther, actually showing to like, hey, these characters are just as important as these characters here, you know. And I'll
tell you what, when so my family, we all sat down. We had a schedule every Friday night after work. I'd get home, we'd order takeout, and we'd watch WandaVision. We did that for 6 weeks straight. We tried to do it with Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it's not built for a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old to really get into. Yeah. So it felt slow, and we didn't watch it. Well, the next morning I watched it, and it was like, they're tackling something that I have to watch every episode of, but I'm not really into it. And once you saw, like, it was uncomfortable at times for a lot of people, and I can see why. But man, that was to see him assume the name of Captain America. Look, guys, it's not like politics and all of this extra stuff. I don't care. I don't care. But there was something about a few moments in that show, man, that it counted. Like it felt like, nope, not only is it okay for me to be a Black superhero, but I'm one of your pantheon. I'm one of the pantheon, and I don't have to build up to it because I already did. Steve Rogers saw it, and now it's mine. You know, and that's really, really cool. And like, damn it, like it counts. You don't think it does all the time, and you don't want to think it does at 40 years old. You just want to do your own thing. But man, like, if you got stories to tell, you got to tell them. It always counts.
It always counts. It just depends on how you let it affect you, right? Or how it does affect you, depending on the circumstances, right?
Yeah, you have to channel it with management. You can't
that's one of those shows. You know how I felt about that show. I did not want to watch it because I said I wanted to watch WandaVision because that was different. Someone sat down and actually thought about new shit during a period where there is no new shit.
It was fresh.
And they built new shit on old shit. They gave me everything I grew up with and mashed it into one and said, here. So I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool, right? And I was like, yeah, I can't do the Winter Soldier thing. That's that typical superhero shit. So I waited until the 4th episode, I think, was out.
Yep.
No, the 5th was out. Then I started watching it. Man, I went 1, 2, 3. I just started going through it because I was like the back and forth between those two guys.
Yep.
I really liked the banter, and I was like, all right. So far, so good.
It was good buddy cop
for me. My choreography with fight scenes. I was like, all right. Look at this. They're getting their asses kicked. I like this. The bad guys are winning. They're outnumbered. They're actually losing.
Yeah.
And by the way, the other second Captain America guy, that was what Steve Rogers did. They just could never tell you that. He's a soldier. He went to war and killed. Right. Let's not get that part twisted. Steve
Well, he couldn't have got his guys out without.
Right. It was vibranium, and he was throwing it.
Yeah. So, throwing it hard.
And hard, yes. Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, I sat there, and by the time they got to that point where they kept addressing why he gave up the shield, I was like, Marvel, are you actually going to go down this road? Because if you that war,
that's it.
When they went down that road, I was like, all right, now I got to see where you go with this. Because I was like, you got to see this to the end.
I messaged Jason that day. I was like, I can't believe they're doing this. Like I was so impressed. And and like Jason, when we talked about it, I was like, it never set right for me. I assumed it was just one of these things in the MCU where like 9/11 never happened. There's no pandemic, and we're not going to talk about the fact that Sam's Black and he's Captain America. Like I guess we're just gonna we're gonna act like, okay, that just happened.
Yep.
So when they started let's steer into this shit and let's introduce Isaiah and I was like, I can't even believe like this is getting really real. In a way that I would never have expected them to get. And it was about that point where I was like, okay, now I'm into this show.
Yeah.
Where starting out, I was like, I don't know. I don't care about the flag smashers and I don't really but then once it started, like, let's go there. Let's just go there. I was like,
I don't like Captain America. I don't like Bucky. I don't like Winter Soldier name is so cool. I don't know
Black. It is a cool name. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, I couldn't stand anybody in that. I couldn't stand. Was it Anthony Mackie? Remember I told you, Jason? I was like, there's something, and it wasn't his acting. There was just something about his face.
Something about him. You just went into it. I'm not into your face.
Yeah, him and the other guy and Bucky, but then they won me over. Like they won me over with that back and forth banter. I believe that friendship that they had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That opposites attract thing. They pulled it off.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I gotta admit, man, because I'm one of those guys where if there's a daddy moment in a movie, oh man, I'm done.
Yeah.
If there's a daddy moment in a commercial, I'm done. Right? So when that whole scene with the guy seeing the soldier seeing that statue in the museum for him,
I was
great. Like, I'm not allowed to cry at a Disney Plus show.
Right? It's like I can't believe this is doing this to me. Yeah. No, but I'm the same way. Like I was thinking about what is the Tom Hanks movie where he's a like a mob enforcer?
Road to Perdition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Road to Perdition makes me cry
really good
100% of the time because it's just such a good father-son kind of thing.
I'll never
and you know where it goes.
Even though I know I've seen it 1,000 times, and if I sit through that movie every time at the end, I'm like,
listen, I would be dehydrated by the end of a movie like that because I can cry. The last movie I cried at was some Netflix Korean sci-fi. Okay, you hear that, right?
Right,
I hear that. And it's because they just set the scene up so damn well.
Yeah.
They made you care. They made you realize that the father was doing all this for his son, and everything he told the son was going to happen. Just look up into the stars, and when you see it real bright, you'll know I'm there for you. That's when the son realized my father just died up there. And that's what he meant he had to do for me. And man, and then they just wouldn't let it go for like 5-10 minutes. And I'm like, I want to stop crying, man. The tears are just like coming down.
Oh my gosh.
It throws me off guard, man, but I'm just a sucker.
Yeah.
Totally. And this is something I find is true, like everyone about my age. So I'm 46, just to give context.
Oh, okay, good. I don't feel
so am I the oldest one here or near, or where am I?
I'm 51.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're pretty close. So I find, and see if you agree, the older I get, the easier touch I am with that stuff. Where
I definitely
I wasn't crying in movies when I was 25. You know, but like
I was when animals died, when you killed the dog.
Yeah, something like that.
You're like John Wick. You were Freddy Krueger of comics before. Now you're the John Wick of
I walked out of Turner and Hooch.
I remember that. Oh my god, I totally forgot.
I walked out.
Yeah, totally bald. Yeah,
I walked out.
Oh my goodness.
That's funny.
Couldn't understand why the dog would sacrifice itself for a guy. I'm like, what are you doing?
They did 2 of those in a row. What was the other one? Jim
Belushi. The other one. I can't remember the name, but I remember there was 2.
2 like cop dog movies, and 2 where they nail you with like the dog gets hurt, like the same.
What was the name of that movie? Do you remember that movie, Ronnie?
It wasn't
Jim
a horror.
Belushi. It was a big dog. I'm gonna look it up.
The movie with Tom Hanks and the dog.
No, Jim Belushi.
But then there was one with Jim Belushi and
that was K9. That was called K9.
Was it just K9? Yeah.
I think it was just K9.
That was not. It was like the same kind of. Yeah, there we go. K9.
Yeah, K9.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it was K9.
And that made me cry too. And anytime you saw an animal hurt, like I can't watch any of that. You can blow up an orphanage. I don't care.
John Wayne movie where 25 people are killed in 3 seconds, and I'm like,
yeah.
Right.
I need another round of that.
Right.
Yeah. But don't hurt. Let the dog get away. Let the cat get away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny.
John Wick's so awesome.
I watched the 1950 whatever War of the Worlds a couple nights ago, which is kind of fun. It's like if you're into B sci-fi movies. But I remember through the whole thing, like people are getting vaporized and who gives a shit. But then there was one part late in the movie where the whole world is falling apart. And they're in town and there's riots and people are trying to get out of town. And there's a scared cat sitting under a car. And like, that was the only time I felt anything close to compassion in like this whole movie so far. It's like, oh, somebody going to grab the cat? Like, this.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. I remember. Oh, you'll dig this, Aaron. I remember when Independence Day came out and we went to the movies. It must have been like the Saturday after it, that Saturday after its premiere. And when Vivica Fox and the little boy and the dog are in the subway,
I remember.
the flames are coming and they make it out and the flames are coming. I remember my oldest sister leaned over to me and said, "If they kill the dog, we're leaving."
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh
That's
my
fair.
gosh. And I remember saying, I really hope they don't kill that dog.
And you know how much I hate that movie, right?
Yep.
I hate it
If you
too.
watch that scene again, the dog was a terrible actor.
Yes. The dog
Terrible.
was,
I felt nothing in that scene. The dog made me believe nothing.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
One of the few. What I tried watching My Hero Academia about it.
Funny.
Oh man, it's one of those things, man. It's. You can just take out as many people as you want. Just don't touch.
But just an
dog.
animal,
Don't
no.
touch the pets.
Yeah.
But specifically dogs, though, because cats are such mean. I mean, they can just take care of themselves. Dogs, for some reason, are
Yeah.
always victims.
Dogs feel a little, like you're supposed to take care of a dog. Yeah.
Even a big
It's
giant dog. You know, it's like, because typically they're docile anyway.
That's why that one movie that was really emotional. I can't remember it, but it was the two dogs and the cat, and Michael J. Fox was one of the voices. of the
Homeward
dog.
Bound.
Homeward
Yeah,
Bound.
The
Homeward Bound,
Incredible
yeah.
Journey. Yep.
Well, see, and just because of what we're talking about, that's a movie like I would never watch.
There
Like
you go.
I just can't. I know what you're gonna do with this, and no.
It's a boohoo. If I can tell in the title I'm gonna cry,
Yeah.
that's why it's up.
Yeah.
Not everybody. Because they got you at the beginning. You were
Yeah.
expecting it.
They have you primed. You're
They
like you're
did.
going in, waiting. Yeah.
And then they
Big
just say,
Fish.
"Whoops, she's gone."
Big Fish is a movie that makes me cry
That's another
every single time I
father-son.
watch it because that movie reminds me of my relationship with
Yeah.
my dad. Like
Big
Mhm.
Fish
my dad
makes
had
me cry.
1,001 stories like that, and like that movie, like always, I watch it around I watch that and I watch Life around my dad's death days. I usually just kind of watch them on my phone. Like I don't watch the whole things, but it's just something like give me a minute to reflect and but just two movies that'll always be special to me. Like Life is as irreverent as it comes, but it makes me weepy because I know how much my dad loved that movie. But again, like that's storytelling. Like storytelling knows how to push those buttons. And it's not
Bring it back to the MCU. Bring it back to Guardians of the Galaxy.
and there it is.
That
Oh
movie made
man.
me cry.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
man.
With the father.
He's supposed to be Merle, right? So when Merle from The Walking Dead, who's now in the Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't remember anybody's name, gives him that line about, like something about the daddy, like
He may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy, or something.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
oh man, I couldn't.
Yeah,
I was like,
and then
oh,
he-
I
Yeah,
know.
that made me cry. That made me cry.
That's
I'm not
tough.
gonna lie.
Yeah.
There we go. We got Ronnie to admit it.
Like a guy painted blue with a plastic mohawk. Like it's so fucking ridiculous on its face, and you're crying. Like it works. Like
Right.
you're crying. Yeah.
The way Peter's trying to grab at him through his spacesuit. Oh man, just everything about that. Like, so I don't want to hold y'all up forever. So I gotta say one thing. What if nothing in the MCU happened up to a certain point? What if all of it was? Yeah.
What do you mean? No, I don't understand. What do you mean?
Okay, what if all of it? Okay, you know how they say dreams are really like 2 seconds, like you really sleep for like 2 seconds and you have this dream of like an entire lifetime.
Mhm.
When WandaVision came out in that first commercial of the toaster, I didn't think about Wanda and Sokovia when I heard the sound of that toaster. I thought about Tony Stark in the desert looking at his own bomb explode in front of him that put the shrapnel in his chest. What if the entire MCU is Tony on life support all the way through Endgame? Because think about it.
You gonna make me say lazy writing again?
Nope.
Or like,
'Cause
what
think
drugs is
about
he
it.
on, and can I get some? No.
Look, guys, coffee, water.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
Back in the 50s, you know what was always in that coffee cup?
No. This is 2021.
Yeah, what about what Frank's saying? This is all like Steve's dream in the ice.
Okay, so check me out. Okay, so Tony Stark is he's in this cave, shrapnel in his chest, right? Yeah. They're pulling it out. They're putting new forms of life support in him. That's all of his suits. Every suit is just a form of life support for Tony.
So it's all like a weird metaphor.
As all these different types of life support they try to put him on to keep him alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through all these movies, you see where he leaves, and they explain in this abstract way his relationship with his dad and himself through Peter Quill and Ego. Why would his dad's name? How ironic that an Earthling would have a father named Ego from some other godlike world that means nothing, but his name is Ego, and he has the same relationship with Peter Quill that Peter Quill has, that Peter Quill that Tony has with his dad.
Well, and
they
all
don't
these
understand each other.
English. I mean,
why does that make sense?
Right.
Why does it all make sense?
That would have worked if they ended the MCU movies right after he died. Yeah. For the 13th time or whatever it was, right? They would have had to have done that there. They can't do it now because it has to be all about Tony. Why you wouldn't dream about other people's
carrying on like you were dead.
But he's not, because he's getting to his ultimate evil. He's got to tell the story of what made Obadiah Stane such a penis head. Who looks like Obadiah Stane?
What sounds so much worse than dickhead.
It does. Imagine putting makeup over somebody with a beard and their chin would be deformed and you're half conscious so you can't see it.
You sure you're not drinking some of this?
No. Now Obadiah Stane this is coffee and this is water. I'm telling you.
Moonshine and what?
Moonshine. That water kind of looked like a jug.
I'm trying to stay hydrated, but
hydrated.
Carolina to Maine.
This is his ultimate evil, and through some way, at some point, Pepper Potts builds a way to stop him from taking over Stark Industries.
Wait, she has powers?
If you're minding your dying, she does.
Okay. No, I mean, does she? Oh wait, she did end up in a suit.
She would be her character.
Put that in my little gripe section.
And you know what? Like maybe this is my JW side coming out, where everything has like a meaning and a greater meaning in the Bible. Right. So Wanda Maximoff represents Pepper Potts.
Man, this is explaining so much about some of your writing right now. What does he say? He has so much of it still in here, and he doesn't put out here.
So Wanda Maximoff's character represents Pepper Potts trying to overcome Thanos. She was the only one who could ever come close to killing Thanos. She could have done it, and she got stopped. And Thanos almost stopped her, which is when she got dusted. But she came back, and she didn't have like this major role, but she let Tony know that it was enough. She had a way to stop him, and that's when Tony died. That's when Tony died. When she had enough of a way to stop him, he knew that as long as he was alive, Obadiah Stane couldn't take over the company. Once Pepper Potts figured out a way, and she stopped him. And there's so much more to this, guys. But this, and again, like, it's not what it is, but it's what it could be.
I need some help with this Tony Stark being the center of the universe.
He is. It's all about Tony Stark. Because it's all about, he's not the center of the universe. It's just Tony Stark. Tony Stark is the center of his universe.
Again, I get he's the center of his universe. I'm talking about like Marvel, this whole thing, because again, I'm not really connected, right, like that. And when I was growing up, he was a B character. Let's be very, very, very.
Oh
clear.
yeah, for sure.
Iron
I
Man,
said why Iron Man.
So for me to see Iron Man, like, being this guy, and I know it wasn't Iron Man. I know it's what's his name?
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I know it's Robert Downey Jr. that's making Iron Man, and no one cares about Iron Man, right?
Sure.
So, but I'm just a little lost at how it's all about him. Like at the end of the day, I'm missing something, and it's probably because I'm not into the comics.
It would be a way if
I was never into the
totally
comics.
Reboot. Like I think people would lose their minds. And I think once again, anyone on the internet who's angry, please email Jason.
Jeez Louise, what's going on here?
Never mind. You know what? I know what my problem is. It's my cynical brain, right? It's that part of me that, and I was explaining this to Jason, that I have a problem with comics and that, or not just comics, movies in general, right? If you're gonna bullshit me, base it on something real so that I can relate when you go into bullshit land. Like Fast and the Furious is always my example, my go-to. That started out as a street racing movie.
Yeah.
Now these cars are doing flips in space or whatever the hell they're doing.
They're going to space in this next movie.
So at some point it became a comic book, which I would have been okay with if I knew that when the series started, right? So it's just the consistency that I care about, right? And so if it's going to be bullshit me from the beginning, so I know I'm in for a ride, and then I can go for the ride.
And see, I'm going to get to Frank's comment in just a second. But
what do you say? You can pop it up there.
That's the thing that has pushed me right in these minis with Aaron. Is Aaron will stop and say, I need to know specifics about where we are.
What are you doing? Yeah.
Why are we there?
Like, I tell y'all this, 68 to 74% of the time, it drives me crazy. But once it's done, I get it. I get it because it's that much better when you are invested in a location. Like, and when we're communicating and you see it, like the bundles, I feel like, have gotten progressively better because of our joint storytelling has improved. And it's just a constant thing of saying you got to push it, but then you got to push it a little bit more. And that's what takes it from decent stories, because they can all be decent stories to somebody, but it's very few of them that are across the board. Yeah, that's what makes the MCU the MCU.
Everything is tied in. Not everything, because if you dig deep enough, you'll find a little hole here and there. But all of the main, if you're just gonna read it over and just look it over a few times, and it's gonna be solid. If you're gonna nitpick and dig deep, you're gonna run into problems.
Well, yeah, because like going with like, if I don't know if they'll ever make a movie about it, but you have the Collector from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you have what is it? From Thor Ragnarok, that character, the Sportsmaster, they are actually brothers in the comics. And they're actually an alien species that have been around for like thousands of years. Since probably the beginning of way even before like the Infinity Stones were created. Like, would they ever go down that route by having this whole family? Because we are going to have the Internals that are pretty much like ancient race of beings. So, you know, as fans of comics, are we ever going to see that stuff? And you know, maybe not, maybe so, but it's interesting that they have those characters there. You know what I'm saying?
And I have to admit, like, I know zero about the Eternals. Like, that's of all the movies that are coming out.
Me too.
Like, I don't.
That's me too. 100%.
I had never even heard of them until they announced the movie. I was like,
I picture the Jack Kirby covers that I remember seeing, and that's it. I've never read a comic. And I'm glad, because now I'm going to enjoy the movie. Because I have zero expectations.
They're not going to be like, well, that's not right. Yeah, so it's
Although the casting is kind of bothering me a little, because
I gotta hit
everything.
I gotta hit Frank's question real quick.
What's that?
In this Tony Stark, this is like, gotta look at this like a
This is when the dream gets hot.
That's how every great conspiracy theory.
No.
Like,
But you gotta look.
gotta
This is my pyramid schema coming out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Have you guys ever wanted to just fire your boss one day? You know?
Level, man, you gotta look past it.
No, so it's like in this Tony Stark is the center of the universe world. It's almost written it's constructed kind of like a book, like one of the multiple books in the Bible, like John, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John. Captain Marvel is one of these recurring doctors, like Wanda Maximoff, like Happy at the beginning, that have tried to save Tony. They tried to keep Tony alive. Captain Marvel came the closest when he was the closest to dying, which was why he was in space and not on Earth. Because that's why he was so withered and frail. But Captain Marvel saved him. And that's why when he said, I need new blood, I'm getting nothing from you guys. He was talking to his doctors.
Wow.
The Avengers are his doctors. Like, they're all keeping him alive. They're making him relevant. And
they're all just doctors and nurses and people. Physical therapists.
Right. Doctor Strange tried to keep him alive, but they were dickheads to each other.
It's
it wasn't
penis
heads. They were dickheads.
You're saying it's Wizard of Oz. Like,
there's actually
they're all going to be around his bed, and he'll say, like, you were there, and you had a bow and arrow, and you had
I appreciate that, Gary, but I don't feel like I should. But for right now, I do.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it was an actual comic book, but there was a story out there where Batman woke up and he was a patient, and his doctor was the Joker, and his assistant was Harley Quinn.
Wow.
See?
Still
in my ideas through a multiverse.
Then he wake up again and realize they were pretending to be his doctor.
It's kind of like what's the Joker movie that they just did, right? The one with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
Where at the end of the day, you don't know whether any of that actually happened.
Did it happen?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
The time was the same in the hospital as it was outside. Like, they kept going back and forth.
Shot 8 bullets out of the gun. It was a revolver. Yeah, it was like.
That was one of those breakdowns that they had on that too. It was actually amazing what they did there too. There was a countdown throughout the movie.
Yeah,
like
I've watched a lot of
11, 10, 9, 8 everywhere. Like, there were signs. That was pretty good. But yeah, that's what happened there. I mean, so you're talking about something like that where, oh no, you're saying he wakes up and it was a dream, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
in your version.
That's what he said. That's what he's saying.
In my version,
yeah. Because with the Joker, you don't know.
No, yeah. Tony died at the end. You know, Tony inspired Peter Parker. It wasn't that he was with Peter Parker. He was like, he inspired him.
Yeah, my conspiracy mind can't see Tony the same way you do. To me, he's always going to be that billionaire warmongering.
I don't love Tony Stark. I'm
Like,
just saying, like, this is what I see now. Like, when I watch all these movies, I'm like, oh, this is like another Tony archetype. It all is.
I'll tell you this. It's making me regret going first. I feel like my fan theory game was low compared to where I was just like, it'd be kind of cool if, Stark was kind of like a weird colonizing, tech thief, and then you have this crazy master theory of like, I feel like I could have tried harder. I want to do it. Give me a couple days. I'm going to drink some coffee.
Okay.
I'm going to smoke some PCP, and I'm going to come up with something. Just wait.
Guys,
there's going to be a lot of weird, sexy fan picking too.
I love it.
Yeah, it's gonna be
that's great.
I just say, man, it's like when you see like a giant decade worth of storytelling, man, like we all do it. So you can't help but to just kind of let your mind go on what these other creators are doing, because it's just what we do on like using the actual Earth as your sandbox. You know, but it's the same.
So that's
it's
kind of
all
where I
storytelling.
am. Like, I'm dying to try. My brain's going crazy trying to anticipate how they're going to do mutants in this whole thing. Like, I really am dying to see how they're going to do that. And like, I mean, Wolverine, you can imagine, was sort of another failed super soldier attempt.
It's easy to put. It's easy to put Wolverine
but where have
anywhere
all
with
the others
the story.
been? And have they been there this whole time and laying low? Or are you going to do like some kind of WandaVision, like mixed reality, like parallel universe thing? Or
you haven't heard all the
stone back wrong and that created a fork, or what?
They're supposed to be. I mean, that's supposed to be the whole reason Wakanda is so major in the storyline. Is they're going to introduce the what is it? The lost, the land. What is that? The lost.
Savage Land.
The Savage Land. Thank you.
Land,
I was thinking of Land of the Lost in my head.
Savage Land. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
The Savage Land. They're introducing the Savage Land because there's a storyline in the comics anyway where Storm and Black Panther had hooked up in the comics, married or something or whatever, right?
Man.
So apparently,
thank you, Clayton. That's awesome, man. We appreciate that.
Who's Seagull Dreams?
That's Van Illustration.
Oh, it was Clay. What's up, Clay?
Yeah, you rebranded.
Yeah, but they're supposed to introduce the mutants. Apparently, that's again, who knows which way they're going to go. But based on the super geeks and how they were breaking everything down and who they were introducing, they were like, all right, they're setting up the Savage Land narrative because there are mutants in the Savage Land. And that's how they were going to introduce that, which was going to bring Wolverine in, which means they may come a totally different way with Wolverine at the end of the day.
Sure.
With the whole Weapon X thing. But it makes sense because that ties in the vibranium, the adamantium, right there in Wakanda. Connect that to the Savage Land. That brings in Storm because Storm is already like in that area and tied to it and has a relationship with the Wakandans. They were talking about this whole thing, how it's already all set up. They're just wondering if they're actually going to pull the trigger. And it's like,
all those movies they announced dates for, it was very noticeable, no mutant stuff. I mean, through like they're projecting stuff out to 2023, it looks like. And
but they do have the Marvels. You know,
I was shocked.
They do have Marvel, so they'll have Miss Marvel, I guess. But
they actually have. They're actually making a TV show.
Yeah. They're bringing the 3, so they're getting rid of the Miss Marvel movie, right? And they're bringing in that Marvel show.
It's
going to go with Captain Marvel too.
There's going to be the Miss Marvel show, and then they're going to have Marvels, which is Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, I guess.
And they also said that Monica Rambeau was going to be in Marvels.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah. So they're bringing that. And then they're talking about, so the Fantastic Four is supposed to kick off that whole cosmic series, right? So that's where you're going to get. That's what supposedly that's where they're going, because that's where you're gonna. Because if you think about with the comics, the Fantastic Four, most of their battles were dealing with intergalactic. They
were astronauts. That's how they.
Still, I want to know how
Fantastic Four.
I still want to know how Blade's gonna come into the whole picture with all of this.
Yeah, Blade's a weird one, and that's
they're talking about. That's that line they're talking about drawing where with Deadpool, with Blade, because they need to have rated R for those movies. So while they'll reference them, they're never supposed to really cross over, except for Deadpool is the one they're trying. But you can't. I mean, the X-Men, if that touches rated R status, you're never going to be able to go back.
No,
because that needs to be rated R.
Right.
I mean, to be honest, if to show Wolverine in his purest form, you got to at least be TVMA. I mean, you got to give it.
Yeah.
You got to be scared.
Well, that's why I was so happy when you saw the Juggernaut in the second Deadpool movie,
that was awesome.
Because he was massive and he was tearing people apart instead of like, literally, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. You know, come on, that was cheesy as hell.
Oh, that was the worst.
Right. Oh. But that was what you were talking about, Aaron. Like, that's the magic of being able to change to a hulking character without having to find a very rare good actor who's the size that could play the Juggernaut in real life.
Yeah, there's no way
you just find the voice.
Yeah.
And then you make the character just like you make a spaceship or you make a building. Like that's it.
So much easier.
But no. So what if the mutants came? What if there was two realities that brought the mutants? Okay, so obviously the easy route is the multiverse would bring the mutants to the MCU. Thanos destroyed the Infinity Stones the same way he destroyed half the life in the universe. Once all those pieces came back after he reduced them to atoms, it was a huge mistake to reverse the snap. Because you don't know what commingled with what. You don't know. It's like trying teleportation now. You can't be sure that it's gonna show up the way that you sent it.
Well, and you had Bruce Banner, a mortal, do it, as opposed to Thanos, who's like a demigod.
A celestial, yeah.
Right. So you would expect, like, well, it's gonna be maybe imperfect. Also with like some weird gauntlet they hacked in Stark's lab. You know, like, I mean,
who knows what that means.
The mutants are going to come out of some of these reconstituted people, but then that means there's no real history. Like it only, you know, like, so there wasn't a Wolverine 100 years ago because it's only been a couple years.
But what if by chance, or maybe not by chance?
That's already terrible by starting. What if by chance? That's already.
I got two things to say after you finish.
Imagine if these mutants show up, but you're aware of the multiverse, but you don't know how to access it, like Mysterio claimed. So what if you find a way to pull Professor Xavier to this universe to start to guide the mutants, but somehow, or maybe Hydra finds a way to bring Magneto into the universe as well to try to corrupt mutants. To basically, this would be the brotherhood of the MCU.
I don't think we're going to see a Professor X. I don't think we're going to see a Magneto.
Oh,
I honestly don't. I don't think they're going to come at us with the traditional X-Men.
You think it's going to be completely different?
Magneto and both Professor X's, they're iconic now. You can't. And they did approach Patrick Stewart, though. They did approach him to do something. So maybe
but he said no,
a cameo or something. But I don't think they're going to give us. I think they're going to give us some new, fresh take on.
They might do like that. Well, who was on the initial team? Like the initial X-Men? Like they might roll back and stay. I agree with you. I think they're not going to go anywhere near the iconic ones because it's still too soon. You know, they'll bring in some characters that we've never seen.
You're gonna bring the ones that were existing with the Savage Land: Jean Grey, Cyclops, the Beast, Angel, Banshee. You know.
So is this
the pterodactyl man?
The pterodactyl guy is the guy in Savage Land, right? And
are they going to believe in Jean Grey? Like Jean Grey is kind of played out. Like, and I'm wondering if they're going to do a Dark Phoenix remix with Scarlet Witch.
You have to kill off. You have to kill off Wanda before you could bring Jean Grey, because.
But apparently there was a storyline in the comics where the Scarlet Witch is bad for a very long time.
Yeah,
she gets rid of all the mutants apparently.
Yeah,
just saying no more mutants, and they're just gone, just like that. So, I mean, they from what I've been reading. See, that's the only thing I do is I'll read a lot of these little, or I'll listen to a lot of these little nerd sites that talk about this stuff. But only the ones that have the real connections to Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Whose rumors prove true all the time, because they have some really interesting insight when you listen to that. And basically, the take that they're in is the Scarlet Witch is going to be the next big villain.
Yeah,
that would. I think that's the best case scenario. I think that's the best sort of storytelling. Now she would easily get drunk with power.
It would absolutely take a multiverse type of thing to stop her, because you're going to need to go pull back from time and go, Thanos, no, all of you, because she can literally manipulate atoms. So
she can do whatever she wants.
You know,
and you would, that's how they bring in that, like the mutants, when she alters like the multiverse and messes with time itself. Or you could even go with the route that Loki, he's traveling through all these different time periods. What if he does something to mess it up where mutants were created when they weren't in the beginning?
Time travel stuff.
Well, we know these shows aren't independent of each other, so if something happens to Loki, it's definitely going to affect
It's a ripple through everything. Yeah. That's the magic of this MCU storytelling. Even if it's not your stories, like they all matter to each other.
Speaking of storytelling, it just popped in my head how you, Jason, were talking about like the what if, like Iron Man saw all this stuff while he was being operated on.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great idea if it came from the point where Scarlet Witch was messing with his head, and when she was messing with his head, he actually saw everything during that time.
Oh, that's right.
That's Wanda's vision.
Yeah.
Wanda, I sound like an insane man.
Ronnie, don't encourage him.
Insane in the membrane.
I was gonna say when Ronnie said, speaking of what Jason said, I said, I still got that cult shit. I can still do it. I still got it. But no,
it's like riding a bike. Just right back.
No. Oh man. But yeah, so man, I'm not even gonna go down that road, y'all. But I get what you're saying, Ronnie.
Hey, why don't you take some of that energy and stop focusing on these Marvel characters and put them where you're supposed to be putting them?
I do it all, man. How about
that?
I do it all. This is me like listening to these Matrix Explain videos, tapping away at the computer, fixing these minis and stuff, man. Oh, all day long. And I'm like, wait a minute now. This also does make a little bit of sense, you know, and then it goes from there.
Do I have any questions on that next script I read?
Hey, if you do, I'll answer them as usual.
I know you're going to answer them. I know you always do.
I always got the answer. We just don't see it all the same way, you know?
It's just not on paper.
Oh, that's good.
Frank, you might be right. Wanda, it seems like they're setting up Wanda to be kind of a hub of some kind going forward.
Yeah.
Wanda's it. Like she goes where the universe goes.
Also she's creeping into Captain Marvel territory, being a little overpowered. Like what?
Yeah.
Well, she was always overpowered. I mean,
right.
Like in the House of M, you know, like Aaron was saying, she literally created a whole world where mutants didn't exist, and she had the ability to like have children. So yeah, she's way overpowered. I mean, she could literally create life itself. We saw what she did. Yeah, we saw what she did with Vision.
Yeah. Think about how many characters were at the end in Endgame who one-on-one could each have beaten Thanos on their own.
Right.
Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, Hulk. But at least I did see a breakdown where they explained the Captain Marvel thing and why she didn't beat him. Like they were actually, and it goes back to the attention of detail with the stones, with the special effects guys. They were showing how, depending on what was happening, a specific stone would turn on. So basically, if she was attacking him, you saw a certain color defend Thanos, and because it was that color, it actually, apparently the way her power works, she absorbs the kinetic energy or something. One of the stones counters that, which is why she wasn't able to beat Thanos. And if it wasn't for that, he would have been done.
He could have.
You know what I mean? So I take back that gripe because they did go back and make sure they dotted their I's.
They tried to explain, the biggest gripe, and I'm not the first person. I'm like the 10,000, actually 10 millionth person probably to notice it. Like they had to come up with a lot of convoluted excuses to have Captain Marvel off-world, which to me felt like a writing cop-out. Like, I mean, you need to figure out how to deal, because I felt like the writers were saying like, well, Captain Marvel could solve this in 5 minutes. So we got to just have her doing shit somewhere else. And that seemed lame. I felt like there were other ways you could deal with that. Like and talk about fan theories. This turned out not to be true, but I remember speculating. Nice. Very good. I like the idea. So the way I understood it, Carol got her powers from the particular stone. Okay.
Sure.
Which Thanos now has in his possession. I thought it would be very easy for Thanos to just like, well, I'll just click this one off. And now she's just Carol Danvers again. I thought that would be an easy way to deal with the Captain Marvel is overpowered problem. And then somehow toward the end, she like they figure out a way to get him to like reactivate it so she's powered again. I mean, I really wanted to see her hold Thanos in a headlock while Hulk punched him in the face so bad. Like I would have paid. I would have bought 3 tickets just to see.
That's like an MCU fastball special.
Well, she's doing things in the other side of the galaxy. It's like, come on.
Speaking of Captain Marvel,
the universe. I think this is probably priority 1. But
Speaking of Captain Marvel, like, are we going to get a secret invasion? Is that part of the setup?
There's a show coming. Secret Invasion series
with Captain Marvel. It made me mad when I found out that the Skrulls were good guys. Yeah. Like in the comics, the Skrulls are a terrorist group from Earth. They're kidnapping like humans, like superheroes and villains. Like with me, it would have been great, like if like Robert Downey Jr. still had like a couple movies in him. You found out that Robert Downey Jr. after he died, it wasn't really him, and it was a Skrull that turned back to normal. That would have been awesome. Because we know that the Skrulls at one point are going to try to take over the world, and just to make them into a happy, like cheerful race, kind of pissed me off, because I know that them and the Krees, like who made the Inhumans, because Miss Marvel, the TV show coming out, she is an Inhuman, and yeah, it's just weird how they like change those characters up. Yeah,
are they making her Inhuman?
Because Miss Marvel, the TV show, she's the character with the stretching abilities. Like she has super stretching and shape-shifting abilities. She's like, people are excited about it because she was like the first like Muslim superheroes, and she's a young teenage girl. So they wanted to get that movie out. But yeah, just having the Skrulls as good guys and not villains kind of like made it weird for me.
Yeah.
I actually like the origin that they gave the Scarlet Witch, because I grew up with her being a mutant. Yeah. So when they first started with her and Quicksilver in that lab, I was like, whoa, what is this, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, I didn't like it, but when they turned it around and said, no, she's actually is a witch, and then the Infinity Stone actually boosted her thing, I was like, ooh, okay,
that was
right. You saved that. You saved it in a very good way. I was like, better than her being a mutant, actually. Yeah, because it makes more sense, But I'm the opposite. I actually like the whole Skrull thing because I wasn't expecting. You know what I mean?
It was a different take on it. Yeah.
That and the fact that, again, because it's again, I'm looking at stuff through the lens filter of my world, right? So that's geopolitics and stuff. I looked at that and I was like, oh, yeah, I see exactly what they're doing. The most powerful empire in space are the Kree. What do they do? Colonize, terrorize, and stuff. And so you sort of flip it around and look at the world today, and it makes sense that in other words, it allows for people to relate easier to that setup because of what's going on in the world versus the way they had it before when the Skrulls originally came out.
Writing is 1000% making it relatable. You can connect. You can keep somebody reading it.
I get your point on the fact they were bad guys, because I was one that used to love drawing Super Skrull all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, because there was actually X-Men comic book issues where the Kree teamed up with Apocalypse, and Apocalypse went out to try to find like the most 12 super powered mutants in the world, and then use his machine device to add Magneto's abilities, Professor Xavier's abilities, all these people's abilities, and put it into his body. So that was actually a really great issue run, at least I remember.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the flip, but I think the problem was, and again, this is like the writing angle of it. I think when I try to figure out, Captain Marvel didn't really work for me. I thought it was fine, but not one of the better ones. And I was like, well, what wasn't working there? I think you didn't have a clear, clean villain, know? And
gotcha.
So when you're like, well, let's misdirect on the Skrulls. You think they're the bad guys, but actually they're sort of cosmic refugees. It's like, all right, well then who, like Jude Law, like I mean, like who, and then you have Rohan, who like has barely been in this, you know.
Yeah.
So like you're kind of like, all right, well, I don't even know why we're here, you know. Like I mean, it's you've kind of made it a little soft. So I think that you needed some other element that you were working on from the beginning of like an obvious evil, if you're going to flip the script on the Skrulls. That was my pick, but
the movie felt like an afterthought. Like they just needed to plug in to appease whatever the market, whatever their data was showing. Oh, we need to fill in a gap.
Everything.
Yeah,
that's the same thing with Black Widow
wasn't...
movie. They could have done that earlier instead of like after everything else happened.
It is like a weird one. Why is that coming out now? I'm interested. I'm going to watch it. Like I'm
going to watch it because I have eventually, because I'm not paying $30 on Disney Plus.
Right.
No, I'm not doing that.
You know, eventually I'll watch it because it's a superhero movie and I watch all superhero movies.
Yeah,
but I'm not. It's like the Winter Soldier. I'm like, I'll watch it whenever I feel like it. I'm not like sitting there going like, when What If comes out, I'm there immediately. You know.
And I'm sort of curious because I've heard. First of all, I've heard like the I can't remember the actress's name, but the woman playing her sister in it is going to sort of be the new Black Widow going forward, maybe. So it's like, all right, I'm sort of interested in that. And then I'm sort of interested because I've also heard that maybe they're going to kind of introduce the Thunderbolts, or at least the concept of that. Like you see in at least one of the trailers, you see like a de-aged Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that like they're kind of, that maybe you'll have like U.S. Agent and Abomination and like all these other people in this. Like,
it'd be nice to see a Red Hulk.
Yeah, and he could end up like. So that the talk was like, well, maybe they're going to introduce it a little bit in this. So I'm kind of in it. This is sort of the evil genius of the MCU. It's kind of like to follow it. You're watching movies just to make sure you're not missing anything.
Right. That's what I was saying about the beginning. It's like once you got to Avengers, you felt like you had to go back to Iron Man and watch everything.
Yeah, it's like continuing education. Like you need to be keeping up on like, well, what are they doing now? I guess I got to see this movie to know.
Yeah. Like very few things have the staying power that these movies have had recently. Like everything is disposable, and there's so much that's been like really, really fascinating and really, really cool that I don't have an interest in. Like I watched the first 7 seasons of Walking Dead, and then I could care less about it now.
Yeah,
you know,
because it's the same thing over and over after a while.
Yeah. And you would think you would run into that with.
What's that?
You would think you would run into
I feel about Batman. It's Batman's origin. Every fucking movie. You
start, it repeats itself.
Yeah.
Like even the Spider-Man movies have been different. Like the first movies have been different enough to where they felt like different movies.
Same thing. But every movie's origin with Spider-Man 2. Like
it's a little bit fresher.
So glad we didn't have to watch Uncle Ben die again. I was
that's true.
Right.
We get it. We all know who Spider-Man is. Let's go.
We know why he's Spider-Man. So
I mean, you know what? At this point, you can do it in a flashback.
You could.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, just get.
Oh yeah, and if I have to see like Martha Wayne's pearls fall off, you know, in that alley, one more time, I'm making a declaration on the internet now. Like, there's going to be a felony. All right, I'm just telling you right now. Like, I can't.
What is it? Is it Flashpoint, the animation that has I don't remember which one it is.
I think it is Flashpoint.
The Joker's his mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, when I saw that, I was like, what is DC doing? Like, if I was the head of DC right now, I'd be like, get this shit on live action right now. Make a 3D version of this.
Yes.
Yeah. Dumb it down and make it softer for the kids. But I want this because this is going to be the new origin for the next 20 years because this is finally something different and way more believable. More believable. Mama loses her mind and blames daddy. Yeah, I could see that.
And her her smile is literally the blood of her child.
Yeah. Oh, that.
Yeah,
whoever wrote that is a dark soul, but that was
Well, we're about almost 2.5 hours, guys.
2 hours, 20 minutes. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
awesome.
This has been a fun conversation. Like we all do something. We all do the same thing as far as being comic creators, but we all see things so differently. So it was nice to have you guys on because you all I enjoy you guys work all differently, and I knew you would all have an entertaining take on something that I enjoy. So I don't know. Well, what's next, guys? I appreciate it. I don't know when I'm gonna do this again. What's that?
That's 2 hours that I didn't work, so that's 2 hours more behind on those comments.
Well, there we go. Now Aaron's behind. More behind. I'm more behind. So we all got things to do. I put links for all of our stuff in the description of the video. So if people are watching this later, man, please check it out. It's all a hoot. So have fun. I'm gonna go see what I can get into around this house. Y'all be good.
Watch me.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Gary, thanks for stopping. Ronnie.
Nice to meet you finally, Gary.
Yes, nice to meet you, man. I love what you're doing with the mini comics. They're great. Your work is phenomenal. It's really good.
Big fan of your books. I'm sure you've heard me about you and curse you for your discipline.
Oh, I love it. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Man, y'all, we appreciate it.
It's all worth it if I can make other artists angry. So
yeah,
it really is. That's what it's all
about. It's really the highest compliment, because I know, that's nothing better when you're reading somebody else's work. It's goddamn this guy. What did he do? It's a big compliment. But
it is.
Ronnie, thank you for helping me out behind the scenes before we got started to get everything set up.
I know this could have been difficult in the beginning.
Yeah, so we'll do it again. Maybe a little bit different next time. It'll be a little bit cleaner. I'll have a little bit more grasp on my buttons and everything, but I really appreciate it, guys.
It sounded like a weird euphemism. I didn't know what that meant. Brass for your buttons. I didn't know.
What's brass for your buttons?
I didn't know. Is that what you said? I heard something weird. I don't know.
No, I said grasp on all these buttons on my screen.
Yeah, all right. Grasp. I thought next time I'll have a little more brass on my buttons. I was like,
no, I'm not quite that country. I'm pretty country, but I'm not that country. I'm not brass on my buttons country.
Just the moonshine. Just the moonshine.
Yeah. All right, y'all be good. Thanks again. Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Peace.